An endless maze of subterranean...
You're in for it.
The most talked about film of the decade.
Why didn't you show the rest of the slides?
Because the rest of the slides have chalk outlines on the floor.
Sit down! Sit on this, bitch! How did that plant fall?
It's just one of the many added attractions of this theater. If you stay a little longer, you may get to see the feature presentation.
I'm Rick Sloan, the man behind Blood Theater, every job except for makeup. And you're listening to The Hysteria Continues.
Yes, welcome back to The Hysteria Continues, episode 44. And this week, we are entering the Theatre of Death, or the Blood Theatre, as Rick Sloan just said, or maybe better known as the Movie House Massacre. And in case you hadn't guessed, it's one of Nathan's picks, so that might give you a little idea of what we have in store. But first of all, let's welcome our Usher's Gone Bad. How you doing, Nathan?
I'm doing okay. I'm sitting alone in a big apartment. It's kind of scary.
It is. It does sound like the beginning of a slasher movie, doesn't it? Yes. Are the curtains billowing?
I don't have any curtains. It's just blinds.
Oh, well, that's all right then. You should be okay. As long as there's not anyone peeking through the blinds. Not yet, anyway. Not what you can see. Like,
no,
it sounds a bit like the setup of the Seduction. Are you dressed like Morgan Fairchild?
Well, if you consider gym shorts and a T-shirt with breakfast cereal on it, Morgan Fairchild-like.
Ooh, sexy.
Sexy. It's not...
Hey, it's cool. It says The Breakfast Club, and it's got all the cartoon characters from the cereals.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Oh, I thought you just had breakfast and you spilled it down your top.
Oh, no.
Oh,
I've got a thing about that. I can't have spilled food on me.
Well, there you go. Well, that does sound quite glamorous, and it probably means if we do hear a thud a little bit later, we know you've been murdered by somebody. So
it's Stripes in your new apartment.
No, yes. Well, she's in the house that we're moving to. She's already in there.
Okay, so we're not going to hear Stripes tonight.
Not today, no. I'm afraid not.
I'm pussy free as well at the moment. I know. So,
I heard
as usual.
Yeah. Sorry.
As usual.
Usual.
Yes. No. Yes. No. Well, no. It's just my pussies are a little bit too boisterous, and they've got a thing about sitting on the keyboard and launching all sorts of random things, and so it's probably not best to have them while they're still kind of settling in. So yes. Anyway, Joseph, how are you?
I'm well. I'm wearing a brown T-shirt that says Hershey's Milk Chocolate.
Okay.
Yeah. So there you go.
Well, I could make some joke about Hershey's, but I won't. But I'm.
You already did a boisterous pussy joke.
Well, I mean pussycat, of course. What else would I mean?
Sure.
Well, Erik, how are you doing over in Ireland?
I'm doing good. I'm back on my big blue one, so hopefully I won't sound like a coffee percolator this week.
Yes. Well, apologies for last week if you there was a few little sound issues.
It's all Eric's fault.
Blame it on Erik.
It was. I was in a different country and I was doing my best to keep up my podcast duties. And I was punished for it.
You weren't punished for it. We were all punished for it.
Justin gave him we gave him a reprimand after the show.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now he's back on
one
his big
more and
blue
he
one.
gets fired.
Justin spanked me.
Oh, Lord.
I've got very long arms.
Yeah.
So yes, well, this episode we are going to be doing, as I said, Movie House Massacre, or Blood Theatre, or whatever you want to call it. And we've got an interview.
What I want to call it.
Yes, well, we'll find out soon. We've got an interview. Well, Nathan spoke to Rick Sloan, the director of Blood Theatre, Movie House Massacre, and that's a great interview coming up, quite controversial in some ways. You'll find out a little bit more about that shortly. We're also doing a listener request. Who requested this? Can you remember?
I think it was I could be wrong, but I think it was BH1117 from the forums. I could be wrong though. If I'm wrong, then I apologize.
Yes. But we're going to be doing, and it's very fitting for this episode, we're going to be doing the top 3 worst slasher movie music or songs. So we've got some painful oral coming up, as in A-O-R. What? What?
I'm just like,
What can I say? I'm trying to keep this show
said
clean.
oral, not oral.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Sound like Nikki from April Fool's Day.
I'm trying to keep this clean, so let's try and get through a whole episode without any double entendres if we can. Will you manage to do that?
No.
Okay.
It won't happen.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Okay. Right. Okay. So, what else have we got? We've got that. So, we've got the movie, literally the movie presentation coming up in a little bit. But before that, should we do our recently seen? Because we haven't done a podcast, have we? Has it been about 3 weeks?
2 or 3 weeks. Something like that.
So, what have you been watching? How about you, Nathan?
I haven't been watching much. I bought Cabin in the Woods this weekend, and I plan to watch it again tonight because I really enjoyed that movie. I don't know. Aside from watching movies, I've been moving here lately. So, I mean, I've been between two places, living between two places. I haven't had a lot of time to watch anything new.
No, fair enough. Fair enough. But, okay. Well, we'll let you off. How about you, Erik? What have you been watching?
Yeah, I've stuffed myself full of movie goodness this week because I was away for a bit, but I was catching up on a few things. One of them is The Pool, which was recommended to us by Sebastian Bokenkamp. Why the gasp?
No, I was like a happy gasp and I clapped.
Oh, right, yeah. I was in a shop in St. Helens called That's Entertainment, which sells secondhand DVDs, and this was one on offer for £2, so I picked it up. I got the 2-disc special edition of Near Dark as well for the same price.
Really?
Yeah, so it was good value. This is, of course, the German movie that Sebastian was recommending, a series of German movies from the last 10, 15 years that we might be interested in checking out. Now, you guys had seen practically all of them, if not all of them, and I hadn't seen one solitary one that he recommended. So I picked up The Pool, of course, starring a pre-fame James McAvoy and Isla Fisher, and it's a group of recent high school graduates in Prague, and they have a sort of end-of-term party in this luxury swimming pool that they break into, but with a psycho killer in tow, killing them off one by one. And there are a couple of good scenes. I still think it's second tier of those post-Scream slashers. I think it's good. It's very well made. Some good actors in there. I mean, I like James McAvoy. He's one of the few non-Irish actors who can do a convincing Irish accent. He was in a film called Inside I'm Dancing, and his accent was note perfect. So we have lots of respect for Mr. McAvoy here. I think it's on a par with films like Urban Legend 2, Cherry Falls, Valentine, that type of one. I don't think it's as good as I Know What You Did Last Summer or the first Urban Legend, but I thought it was really good. A real surprise because it was one I've sort of ignored since I heard about it because I thought it would be sort of typical of the direct-to-DVD stuff. So that was good.
I disagree with you.
What?
You said it's not as good as the first Urban Legend. I think it's as good as the second one, and the second one's better than the first Urban Legend. So take that.
That's complicated. Let me work that one out.
Yeah.
I said it's as good as Urban Legend 2, and you agree.
I love Urban Legend 2, and I would say
I like Urban Legend 2 as well. I don't think it's as good as the first one though, because it doesn't have.
I think it's better than the first one.
Oh, it doesn't have the girl with the big hair, whose name I can't remember. Rebecca Gayheart.
See, that's the problem with the first Urban Legend. I think the last 20 minutes are like great, but the whole build-up is kind of slow. Whereas Urban Legend's final cut, I think it's just fun through the whole thing. But that's just my humble opinion, sir.
Well, I'm sure we're going to get onto some of those films at some point. Maybe we should do a whole show dedicated to it, perhaps at some point in the future. But yes, okay. Well, anything else, Erik?
Yeah, I watched. This was on television. It's one I never caught in the cinemas. Jennifer's Body, the Diablo Cody take on the horror genre. Her follow-up. Her follow-up to Juno. Why the boo? You didn't like it?
Because I can't stand Diablo Cody. I think she's a pretentious hag.
Well, I can kind of see where you're coming from. I thought this was okay. I didn't think it was anything spectacular. I was surprised that Megan Fox was actually quite good in the lead role when, the poor lady is considered as nothing more than a big pair of boobs by most people in the industry, I think. She plays Jennifer, who becomes a groupie for this band, and she disappears in their tour bus one night and comes back sort of possessed by a demon. Now, there's not much plot to it other than that. Her friend, played by Amanda Siegfried, tries to help her become unpossessed, I suppose. And the plot moves along in a very linear fashion, and it has, Diablo Cody's typical dialogue, which is probably why you hate it. It's the dialogue.
Very grating.
It is, because it reminds me of when what was that show with Dawson's Creek? Reminds me of when Dawson's Creek came out. Now, I found that really grating because people were talking really in an unrealistic fashion. I mean, I don't mind when Quentin Tarantino does it, so maybe it's just double standards, I don't know. But I thought Jennifer's Body was okay. I mean, it didn't really have much of a point to it, to be honest. But I mean, I thought it was far superior to a lot of other sort of theatrical horror films I saw in the last few years. Films like The Rite or The Unborn. I think, it was far superior to those. And I don't really understand why it bombed so spectacularly at the box office. Compared to another film I saw actually this week as well. This will be my last one I'll mention. The Devil Inside, which is it's not really, I suppose, not found footage film. It's a faux documentary about a girl exploring the world of exorcism in Rome. Now it came with a lot of very negative reviews, so I was kind of dubious sitting down to watch it, and I was kind of with it for the first half hour, and then after that I sort of realized where all the negative criticism came from. And the ending apparently is quite controversial because it ends just as it seems to be sort of picking up speed, and it ends very abruptly. I don't know if you guys have seen The Devil Inside. Have you?
No, I haven't seen it yet. No.
No.
Apparently it made over 100 million, but most of that was in its first week. Right. The majority of it was in its first week, and then sort of, because it wasn't previewed for critics, nobody had any advance word on it. But I suppose it's not as bad as the reviews suggest, but it's 70 minutes long, and at the sort of 69 or misses minute mark, it seems to be sort of finally going somewhere, and then it stops.
I've not seen it. Doesn't it end with, like, if you want to find out how this film finishes, go to the website?
Yeah, there's a website address. Yeah. Which is a bit. I didn't go near it, to be honest.
Yeah, I think if you're spending the amount of money you have to now when you go to cinema, you kind of don't expect to have to go to a website to find out what actually.
They want to make you work for closure.
Exactly. Yeah, but
pay your internet bill and you'll find out what happens.
Right.
Just one other one. The Woman in Black remake I finally saw as well on DVD. Okay. And I was quite impressed, actually. I really enjoyed it. It was nice to see that they sort of retained the subtle scares for the most part that the ITV production had. It didn't go for, an overload of CGI like the Haunting remake. And I thought Daniel Radcliffe was surprisingly good. I only saw 2 of the Harry Potter films. The first one, which I thought he was kind of bad in, but he was only 10 or 11 or whatever it was. And I saw the third one, which was pretty decent, but I didn't see any of the others. So my memories of Daniel Radcliffe was as a sort of mediocre child actor. So it was interesting to see that he's developed into a decent, adult actor. Not adult in that sense.
Well, I thought the Woman in Black remake or adaptation, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, I thought it was pretty okay. It's by the director of Eden Lake, isn't it? I think.
James Watkins, is that his name?
Yeah, that's right. But
have you guys seen Eden Lake? It's a really good movie.
Quite a few times actually, but What I didn't like about this was they had the. I mean, I won't spoil it if you've not seen it, but it's the kind of syrupy kind of subplot and the ending to Women in Black, whereas the TV adaptation has the balls to end in a much more downbeat way. I mean, it's still downbeat the way the film ends, but it's not. It
does. It actually, when it came to the ending, it reminded me, this is like straight out of Poltergeist 2.
Yes. Yeah.
But I know, because I was expecting it, because the original story, I think, is quite flimsy, and in the wrong hands, it could have been a really, really boring movie. Much like The Haunting. Like The Haunting is a fairly flimsy plot. And in the wrong hands, which it did end up in, the remake was just diabolically boring. And I was I had the same fears about sitting down to watch this, but I was surprised by how entertaining it was. And it has that great scare where it's similar to one in The Eye, where the ghost is standing in the corner and sort of lurches forward.
Yeah. Okay. No. It's I keep on meaning to pick that up on Blu-ray or DVD at some point, so I'm sure we'll do. But well, thank you, Erik. Joseph, if you had any time, because you've been quite busy in the last couple of weeks, haven't you? Have you been watching any movies?
Yeah, I've watched a few things, mostly a couple of rewatches, and I watched one movie I hadn't seen. But the rewatches, I actually did rewatch Cabin in the Woods the other night, and I was kind of disappointed because, when I saw it at the theater, I was like, wow, that was really good. But, watching it on a TV, I don't know, I found some of it kind of boring. And it doesn't really pick up until they get to I won't spoil it for those who haven't seen it, but it doesn't really pick up until the big finale, as it were. But, I still like it, but I think it's better theater film, and I probably just should have left it at that so I would have retained a good memory of it. But I don't think I'll ever go out of my way to watch it again.
Ooh, I'm surprised at that.
Yeah.
Why did you think?
Just because Joseph was so overwhelmingly positive about when he saw it in the cinema. It's just it's quite a come down.
Yeah, it's still a good movie, but I don't know. It's a theater experience. I think it's the same type of film like Freddy versus Jason was, where it's like one of those lifetime experiences that you've been waiting on, and then you watch it in the theater, you're like, wow, and then you watch it again, you're like, okay, that really wasn't that great.
That's exactly the reaction I had to Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah, exactly.
I was kind of bowled over by it in the cinema, but then when I caught it on DVD, I was like, oh.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I felt about felt about it, and that's how I feel about Cabin in the Woods right now. If I had to, I'd watch it again, but I won't ever go out of my way to do it again.
I can't wait to watch it again. But, I have a ginormous TV, so it's like being in a theater still. So I think I'll still like it for that reason.
Well, it wasn't in 3D, was it?
No.
So
they were going to post-convert it, but they never did.
Were, yeah.
Which I'm kind of glad, because I think post-conversion looks like crap.
Oh, God, I sat through Titanic post-conversion.
And that
was bad enough pre-conversion.
Yeah.
3D. Yes. Okay. Well, no, thank you, Joseph. Anything else?
Yeah, a couple more. I rewatched the movie Altitude about the kids in the plane, and there's like that monster in the sky, like the Cthulhu-looking thing. I liked this movie the first time I saw it, and I kind of liked it again, but it's got a problem in that the characters are really annoying, and they constantly screaming and yelling and talking as loud as they can. And I just kind of wish they'd have been quiet and let me follow the kind of just what was going on. It's mostly they were mad at each other and calling each other names. And I was like, kind of enveloped in the story of these people. Basically, this kid, this teenager guy, I guess you could say he can kind of manifest things that he looks at, and he looks at a comic book about a creature in the sky, and then all of a sudden they're attacked in the sky. And that's pretty much all I'll say about it. But yeah, it's an okay movie. If you can get past the characters yelling at each other, I think it's kind of interesting, and it has a pretty neat ending. I like the kind of circular motion ending they threw in there.
I've not. I've seen it, but I remember next to nothing about it.
Yeah. But let's see what else. I rewatched Mindhunters, which I think is a pretty good film. It's the one by Rennie Harlan. It has Christian Slater and Val Kilmer. It's about these FBI profilers who go to this island, and then there's a serial killer on the island, and he set all these booby traps. And this came out around the time the first Saw came out, but it's not. And I think it kind of got lumped in with Saw as a Saw ripoff, but it's not like Saw at all. It's more like And Then There Were None, if it were like a CSI episode. And it's pretty good. Some of the acting is a little dodgy here and there, and it's also to the type of movie that really doesn't play fair, because it goes out of its way to cast suspicion on people just so they can kind of hide who the culprit really is. But for the most part, it's pretty exciting. It's pretty suspenseful, and I like some of the booby traps in the film. And as Rennie Harlan, he's a pretty good director at kind of throwing shocks at you, so you don't really know who's going to die and when certain people die, you're like, well, I didn't see that coming.
I've not seen it. Anyway.
No, it's pretty good. It's slasher-esque, definitely. So yeah, give it a watch. I think you might like it. It's a little kind of, it can be corny at times, and like I said, some of the acting is a little here and there, but overall, yeah, I give it a thumbs up.
Cool. Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, one more. I watched A Perfect Getaway for the first time.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the one with Timothy Olyphant and Steve Zahn and Mila Jovovich on the island, and I didn't like this movie one bit. the setup is okay, but the problem is that it's a movie that all it really cares about is shocking you with this one twist, which I won't spoil. So, I mean, the whole plot is basically there's a killer on the island, and I've kind of blocked it out of my mind, but I think they don't really even show any killings. They just say there's a killer, just so they can set up this big, haha, gotcha plot twist at the end, and then it just goes on and on how they explain how it happened. And I'm sitting there, kind of looking at my watch and thinking, this movie's almost 2 hours long. When is it going to end? So I don't really recommend that.
Okay. Again, it's not a film I saw about a year or so ago, and I don't remember a huge amount. I remember what the twist was. The twist is a good twist, isn't it? But yeah, I don't really remember. What about you?
Yeah, it's a decent twist. I like the twist, but I don't think that it had a good story to kind of build up to it, and they just spent too much time.
Didn't y'all guess the twist?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious, but I think in a better movie it wouldn't be obvious.
Yeah, I agree. Funny story about that movie is our old friend Scott, who used to come over when we had movie nights on Friday nights. We watched Perfect
I did
Getaway.
not see that coming.
No, it wasn't that. It was, Mila Jovovich or whatever her name is in that movie. And he argued with me for at least an hour, telling me that that's the actress that played Lydia in Beetlejuice.
Really?
I'm like, that is not Winona Ryder. I mean, what the hell?
God, Scott's an idiot. God.
I didn't even look like her.
No.
It's funny, isn't it, when you get people who just argue something, you just know that they're so wrong, but they still won't back down.
Because Scott is a one-upsman, and he always has to be right about everything, and he always has to know someone who knows something better than you. Like say, I'm pretty good at playing cards. Oh, I know a guy who's really good at playing cards. He's that type.
It's just kind of bizarre, isn't it? Because I don't think I said this before on the podcast, but stop me if I have. But we used to do pub quizzes, and if you do them, do you get those in America? When you go down to a bar or a pub and everyone sits around and plays a quiz.
Yeah,
I don't go to bars, so I don't know.
No, okay, but we had this one woman on our team, and she insisted it was what's the name of the famous volcano in Sicily, and it's Mount Etna, but she insisted it was Mount Edna, as in Edna the name, and we were saying no, it's not, and she said it is. I'd stake my life on it. It's Edna, and of course it wasn't. But it's what you have to argue the toss with people who are completely wrong, but they just won't back down. So
it's like the whole Toya versus Susie thing. You just won't back down.
Well, why should I back down?
Because you're wrong.
Well, I can't back down that far down to Toya's level, can I?
You're very mean.
Ooh.
Well, you invited me, didn't you?
I have to admit, that picture you put up, she looks pretty good for being, 555 years old.
Yeah. 55.
That is definitely not a recent picture of Susie you put up.
It is. It's a new picture.
Yeah.
It's a new picture that she found.
It was taken in 1984, but it was only developed in 2012.
Yeah, you're just jealous. Because Toya's probably, I don't know, they couldn't find a fisheye lens big enough to get her in.
Working at a photo place by now.
Yeah, she developed it.
Oh!
I'm not talking to you anymore.
Snap.
Right, anyway, moving swiftly on, and Erik, you started that, so don't you go all
Yeah, but I'm always right.
Well, there we go. Anyway, we'll discuss that later, Edna. So,
Justine.
Joseph, anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay. Well, just quickly, I will thank you very much. And just quickly, some of the things I've seen. I saw Dread in the cinema a couple of weeks ago, or about a week ago, which I think has just opened in the States this Friday.
As in Judge Dredd, yeah?
Judge Dredd remake?
Yeah. Which is really good. It's very, very... It's definitely worth seeing. Yeah, it's excellent. It's much better than the Stallone version. It doesn't. I used to read 2000 AD when I was a kid, and I used to really like it. And it hasn't. This one hasn't really got that kind of slightly black humour as much as the comic has. But it's a really good adaptation. It's got some of the best 3D I've ever seen in it. And although it's a relatively low budget, when I say low budget, I think it's something like 40 million or something. But it's kind of relatively low budget. But they kept their budget down so they could really, really do what they wanted with it. And it's and so it's incredibly violent. and there's kind of I think it was shot in South Africa, actually, in Johannesburg or somewhere, and it's got this kind of really grimy look to it. But the 3D is incredible because it's all centered around this drug called slow-mo, which means everything slows down to 100th of the speed it would be normally. So everything, when they do that, they do these kind of slow-mo kind of gun battles, and everything just goes in really slow motion, and the 3D is excellent. And it's got an amazing villain called Mama, who's played by English actress called Lena Headey, who's incredible.
Oh, I love her.
Yeah,
she's really, really good in this. And it's and Keith Urban is, I think it's Keith Urban. Is it Keith Urban?
Carl Urban.
Carl Urban, sorry, yeah.
Keith Urban, I think, is a country star.
That's right. He's married to Nicole Kidman, isn't he? Sorry, but Carl Urban, he's really good as Judge Dredd in it as well. So it's definitely worth seeing. I don't know whether or not it'll hit a chord with American audiences, but it's been number one in the box office over here for the last 2 or 3 weeks. Did you see it,
Mark?
Erik?
Yeah. No, I didn't see it, but I was just going to say that Mark Kermode, the esteemed BBC critic, compared it to The Raid, that film from was it earlier this year, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Because it's all set in a tower block, is it?
It is. It can a tower block, whatever. Like, because it's in, I don't know if you're in the comics, but it's like a Mega City 1, where it's this kind of post-apocalyptic city where everyone's crammed in, and there's like 100,000 people in this tower block. And then they shut it down. It gets shut down, and Judge Dredd's in there arresting somebody, and then there's this huge this gang go after him. So it's just like loads of it's just you have to see it, but it's a bit like The Raid, but it's definitely worth seeing.
And does the 3D sort of do things poke off the screen and fly out of the screen?
A bit. It's kind of like the things like this woman, she's kind of washing her hair, and it's all in slow motion. So all the water's kind of falling down like this kind of cascade, and the depth is really, really good. You know, there's shots from through behind a car, and everything's the depth is really well done. It's probably the best.
Might go see it during the week then.
Yeah. I'll see what you think. But I thought it was really good.
Kind of interested. I mean, I thought the one with Sylvester Stallone was really silly and corny, but this one, kind of sounds like it might be pretty good.
It's still a comic book adaptation, but it's quite grimy and gritty, but with cartoon violence, and it's it's so violent. We came home, and from Love Film, we'd got The Hunger Games, which I just thought I should see, and also The Best Marigold Exotic Hotel, which is the old lady film. Yeah. So we decided to watch that because Dredd was so violent. It really, really over the top violence all the way through. It's just non-stop shooting and skinning of people and throwing them off tower blocks and all sorts of stuff. And it was, but it's normally, obviously, I don't mind violent movies for obvious reasons, but I didn't mind it. It just kind of drained me a bit. But I thought that was the sign of a good film. So that's worth catching. The other things, what have I been watching? I've been had a bit of a marathon because I can't go into what I'm doing, but I'm doing a little project which I'm going to be introducing some trailers for some films, and so I've been watching. I had to watch 6 back to back pretty much over the last couple of days. One of them was I had to rewatch Home Sweet Home again, which was the Nettie Penner movie, which is the slasher, one of the few slasher movies made by a woman. Who I did think about choosing it for the podcast, and so I did. And I Facebooked her and asked her if she'd be interested in doing doing a sort of an interview. But then I also Facebooked Jake Steinfeld as well, who is the body who plays a giggling PCP injecting killer in the film. But I accidentally didn't change the name, so it just says Dear Nettie. To Jake something. I won't hear back from him.
I've done that in the past as well.
That's embarrassing, isn't it? But anyway, so I watched that, so I won't get into that in case I do choose it. The other film, the documentary I watched, which was the one that I've been involved with, which is Slice and Dice, the slasher movie Forever, which is going to be out fairly soon, or I think I'm not sure. I think it's very close to having a deal. It's going to be shown at Stitches, or is it Stitches? Stitches,
yeah.
Stitches.
Film Gay festival. Capital of Europe.
Yes, but that's going to be shown there. It's kind of very prestigious, I think, event. So unfortunately, I'd like to go over for it, but I don't think I'm going to be able to do so. But I watched the film, and it is fantastic. It's probably the best slasher movie documentary that I've seen. Of course, I would say that, but when you see it, you'll see what I mean. It's got people. It's interviews with like Felicia Rose from Sleepaway Camp, Tom Holland, Patrick Lussier from the My Bloody Valentine remake, Adam Green, J.S. Cardone, who obviously directed The Slayer, and many, many more, including Corey Feldman as well. So there's that's definitely worth seeing when it comes out. And when I know a little bit more about when it's coming out, I'll let you know. But so there's quite a few other bits and pieces I've watched, but I won't bore you with those. So that is our recently seen. I think it's time for that oral torture. And I think we are going to go into this is you have been warned. You are warned. So you can stop listening now, or you can enter into the depths of the worst of slasher movie music and songs. And to start off with, Nathan, I'm going to play your number 3. Shall I play it first, and then you tell us what it is?
Yes, please.
Sounds good. Here we go. Here's Nathan's number 3. Okay, Nathan, what was that, and why did you choose it?
That's Only You Tonight from Killer Workout, a.k.a. Aerobicide. And let me just say that movie is full of amazing songs, so it was very difficult to narrow it down to just one. And I realize we're trying to pick songs that are our worst songs in slasher movies, but I like all of them. So I'm picking my So Bad They're Good songs.
Well, that's fair enough. I think it is. I think I've got a little bit of that, although actually maybe not. We shall see.
I've got 100% of that, I have to say.
Okay.
Because I love all the music I picked. It's just I know that they're not going to be selling any record albums anytime soon. But I love the song. I think it's hilarious, and I love the workout scenes that these songs play to. With these ridiculous get-ups. Typical 80s workout video attire.
Love it, yeah.
Any idea who recorded it?
I don't know, actually. I was probably at the end credits, but I didn't even think about looking that up.
No, fair enough. I just wondered if there was because it's funny, actually, some of the slasher movies got their own soundtrack LPs, didn't they, released? I know, like The Burning got it released.
Final Exam did, surprisingly.
I wish this movie would have.
Well, it may be somewhere in some bargain bin under a Toya.
Next to a Toya.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
Anything else you'd like to say about that, Nathan?
No, I think that's about it.
Okay, well, it's a good start. It's got us going. And up next, Joseph, here's your number 3.
Yes, I've been away too long. Carolina in the morning. Lord, you know I'm coming home.
Okay, Joseph.
That's Faraway Carolina from the Toolbox Murders. And let me just say that when I was recording that, I wanted to strangle Nathan because he used to play that scene over and over.
I remember.
Yeah.
I like that song.
Sounds like do you remember The Littlest Hobo?
Yes.
Yes, it sounds a bit like that.
Yeah. But it's country music, so that's one strike against it right there.
But you live in the home of country music.
No, I don't.
We live close to it.
Well, Tennessee in general.
No, it's only Nashville. It's the home. It's the city. It's not in Tennessee.
Dolly Parton.
I would rather fillet a serrated knife than to listen to country music. But
that's harsh.
Anyway, yeah,
it's very harsh.
Yeah, but I like that they kind of used a song in that scene that kind of goes against the tone of the scene, but the song is really annoying, so that's why I picked it, and it's all Nathan's fault.
Oh, Nathan. You've got a lot to answer for, as we'll find out shortly.
Yes.
So
Actually, before you move on,
yeah,
I think pretty much all three of my picks are going to be Nathan related.
Oh, really?
Yay!
It's going to be all his fault for everything. Yeah.
I can see a theme running through this.
Yeah. It's all Nathan's fault special.
Yes, I think it will be. Well, we shall certainly be saying that by the time we get to the end of the show, I'm sure. So, well, thank you, Joseph. What?
Oh, just laughing at your little pun there.
Oh, thank you.
Anyway.
Right, Eric, here's your number 3.
I want a silver caddy with a Landau top. I want a sugar daddy with a candy shop. I want a lot of things that a money can't buy. But what I want most is a pie in the sky. What I want most is a pie in the sky.
Okay. That is Heidi Kozak from Slumber Party Massacre 2. Now, the plot of Slumber Party Massacre 2 involves a band, kind of like the Bangles. And actually, when it comes to them playing their songs, they're actually quite good and quite catchy. And they're not as dated as I was hoping they would be when I went to research the top 3. So I chose that clip of it's Heidi Kozak sitting on a couch writing a song, and that's what she comes up with. And it's delightfully crap, I think. I'm assuming the finished product will be called Pie in the Sky. And Heidi Kozak actually plays the drummer in the band. So we all know that drummers are normally the least talented members of the band, or that's the cliche anyway. But yeah, Pie in the Sky, I thought was particularly naff, although in a good way. Like as Nathan said, my top 3 are all songs I get a kick out of, even though they are bad.
So two things. First, did you just say that drummers are the worst in the band?
Well, it's not the cliche. They're the least musically talented.
I thought the bass player would be the least.
Well, yeah, the bass player and the drummer are usually the joke members of the band. Yes. And
also, not only is Slumber Party Massacre 2 my favorite of the films, but I like all the music in that movie.
So do I. It's quite catchy, and I
love all the music.
I thought it was going to sound really dated, but they do sound kind of like the Bangles, which is a sound that isn't as dated as maybe some of the other entries in my top 3. So that's why I went for the sort of Heidi Kozak singing her little melody in inverted commas.
That song is going to be a hit.
What is a pie in the sky, though?
Yeah.
What is a pie in the sky?
I think it means you're reaching for your dreams.
I think it's catering on Ryanair or Aer Lingus, maybe.
I don't think my dreams are associated with pie. Maybe hair pie, but I don't know.
Ew.
Gross.
Ooh.
Fish pie. Yeah.
Eric.
What?
I think we'll move on, shall we?
Don't make it gross.
Yeah, here's my number 3. Let's try and clean our palates. Right. Well, I'm just trying to put that down, but that is incidental music from the Mexican slasher movie Don't Panic, and it's the reason I chose it. It's from it's you can see it on YouTube actually. I really like that film. I think it's a kind of Nightmare on Elm Street rip-off. And it's the love scene. Well, not love scene. It's kind of those scenes you used to get in kind of 50s movies, or when kind of montage of people, a young couple in love, running around, holding hands, eating ice creams. And this is kind of what this is. Apart from it's got the main guy, the lead, and his girlfriend who's got a bit of a unibrow. And and it's just kind of like this kind of them let balloons go, eating ice cream, feeding ducks in the park, and there's been where they're throwing bread into the pond, and it sounds like they're dropping boulders into it. It's like whoosh, whoosh. And it's got that real 70s boo-doo, sort of thing going through it as well. And it's just like, it's obviously someone's dug that out of some music library somewhere.
I thought it sounded like the music to Lucas from the trailer that Eric picked last show.
Yeah. I thought it sounded like this track 6 from Kaleidoscope by Susie and the Banshees.
Oh, did you? Oh.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's sort of saying, Erik, you know when you're saying about people, the least talented member of a band, well, obviously, his vocals in Toy's band's case.
I hate you.
What?
I hate you.
Look, Erik, don't bring it to the table if you can't chow down.
Ooh.
I don't know what that means, but...
You realize who you're asking if you can chow down?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Look who you're talking to.
Yeah.
This is the man who loves chunky Kit Kats.
I know. That's why I was thinking. I was wondering if all your choices are food-related. I wonder if they're big chunky Kit Kat one.
No.
No.
By the way, Erik, I saw that post someone posted about some kind of new Kit Kat.
Yeah, cookies and cream Kit Kat.
Ooh, it looks good.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's time for some cat, isn't it?
Yes.
Here we go. Okay, Nathan, what was that, and why is it your number 2?
That is Shake It Up from the infamous dance club scene in Blood Diner. I think that song is kind of catchy in a way, and I don't know, like I'm just picturing the band right now singing that song, and I think it's really funny, and I don't know, it's such an odd song in that scene. I don't know, it doesn't seem to fit that dance club, but I mean, I think it's a catchy song regardless.
It's it sounds like it wouldn't be out of place in something like Hairspray, would it?
Right. It sounds very clean.
It sounds very clean.
It sounds like a new wave version of something like Elvis or something, or the Big Bopper. Yeah,
it sounds like Shawadi Wadi.
I don't
know who that is.
It was
like you just made it up.
No, UK 70s band who specialised in that type of music.
Was it Under the Moon of Love? Did they do that?
That was them, I think. Yes.
And they kind of because it's that whole 70s, wasn't it, 50s revival. I seem to remember. But Nathan, well, I think that's probably quite a fitting number 2. Is there anything else you want to add?
No.
Okay. Well, I haven't seen Blood Diner yet. It's one I keep on meaning to get around to, which I know you're a big fan of.
I'm a huge fan.
And it's another slasher movie made by a woman, wasn't it? Is it Jackie Kong?
Jackie Kong.
Yes. Okay. Excellent. Well, thank you very much. Joseph, your big number 2 is coming up just after this. Joseph, why is that your number 2? Well,
that is Rainbow Eyes from Rocktober Blood.
I love it.
It's another Nathan's fault. I picked it because, frankly, I do like hair metal. I think it's, some of it is good, but that is not. It sounds like a really bad version of Lita Ford, and Lita Ford's pretty terrible herself, so there you go. That's why I picked it.
Was that the woman or the man singing?
That was a woman singing.
It was a woman singing, okay. It's difficult to tell sometimes with hair metal, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah.
But I think there may be a little bit of hair metal coming up in my choice shortly.
Cryptic.
But Rocktober Blood's a film that should be fun to do on the podcast at some point, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Why'd you say...
No.
What, no? Yes, no?
Yeah, go ahead. Pick it right now. We'll do it right now.
No. You're not getting out of Movie House Massacre that easily.
No.
I don't know. What's the road less evil, I guess? What's the lesser of two evils?
They're both awesome. I mean, there is no evil here.
That's way. Well, we'll find out. We'll find out. But Joseph, anything else you want to say about your number 2?
That it is a true number 2.
Indeed. Well, thank you. And Erik, after the cat, here comes your number 2.
What do you do when the only sound is the beat of your heart tearing you apart with its pounding? Where do you go? Can't run away from a love that is wrong, but the feeling's so strong that you're staying. And you know you shouldn't stay, and you said you wouldn't stay, but love's taking you higher, higher, higher. Oh, you're playing with fire.
Erik.
It was Toya.
Yes. Why is everyone ganging up on me today? That obviously wasn't Toya.
Oh, you're the eternal victim, Erik.
I know.
I'm not ganging up on you.
Thank you.
Not yet.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Come on, Erik.
I do feel like the Inga of the podcast. That was an artist called Anisha Walker, and that was, of course, the theme song to They're Playing with Fire. She is trying to, I suppose, channel Shirley Bassey there, or Tina Turner, and it's got heavy 80s production, which is why I love it, and those belting vocals, and it's incredibly overproduced. They're Playing with Fire itself is very loosely fits into the slasher genre, I suppose. It has a very maybe vague connection with the genre, although I did review it for Hysteria Lives, so that's why I've included it in my top 3. I just think the song is fantastically sort of overwrought. It probably suits the style of the film because, of course, it stars. Her name escapes me.
Sybil Danning.
Sybil Danning, yeah, in various states of undress with bikinis that barely fit her. So it has that kind of. Actually, the song reminds me, particularly the chorus, reminds me of a potential Bond theme. I'm imagining They're Playing with Fire, starring Daniel Craig and Sybil Danning.
Oh, that'd be a sight, wouldn't it? Because I think it's in keeping with your food theme, isn't it? Because I think Sybil Danning has a couple of noshes in that film, doesn't she?
She does. She likes the. Although you wouldn't get on with her because she likes pork.
Yes. Well, not they. Yes. Well, I think maybe you should watch Playing with Fire to find out. And Sybil Danning's she's been around forever, isn't she? She was in Jali. Sort of early 70s Jali, and she was in the Queen in Red Kill 7 Times, and she was in Meteor and all sorts of things. And
she was in Howling 2, which almost had a Susie and the Banshees track.
Indeed, yes. Mm-hmm. But well, I think that's very fitting. It's a bit reminded a bit like Barbara Streisand or Bonnie Tyler, that kind of vibe.
Bonnie Tyler's a good comparison, yeah, without the graveliness.
Yes, indeed. But, well, thank you very much, Erik. The last of the number 2s is coming up now.
Was the cold winter night with the stars shining bright, but now we're facing the light of eternal night. My friend, they must come to an end. Now I'm alone, far, far away, in the middle of nowhere, looking for a day, in the middle of nowhere, looking for a day, we're forever bound to stay.
Well, that was Easy Action from Blood Tracks, I believe.
Sounds like Corey Hart almost.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's the flip side of hair metal. Is my brother was really into Lita Ford and used to have stickers of her on his bunk bed, and he still does actually have stickers of her on his bunk bed.
He still has his bunk bed?
He does actually. Yes, he'd kill me if he's 40 this year. But yes. But anyway, as I draw a discreet veil over that, I hope you're not listening to this, Alistair. I'm sure you're not. But yeah, he used to listen to Lita Ford and all that kind of crap, and it was all that hair metal stuff that I really hated in the 80s, and it was a flip side of they would either be doing kind of real screechy kind of stuff, or like the Rocktober Blood, or it would be the kind of the power ballad, and that was one of the power ballads, which is. What you can say. I mean, they look quite funny. I mean, they almost look like a parody act in Blood Tracks, because they've all got like that really teased hair and spandex and stuff like that. And it's a film that I quite enjoy. But yes, that's the reason I chose that. Is I don't hate it with a passion, but it's kind of symptomatic of the worst of the 80s for me. So that was my number 2.
Yay!
Yeah, I would agree. As much as I wave a flag for the 80s, power ballads were kind of diabolical.
Yes. But
I don't care for power ballads. I like some hair metal. I mean, I think some of it's kind of fun. I
like Easy Action's theme song to Blood Tracks. I think is quite catchy.
In a kind of ironic kind of way, but some of those power ballads from the 80s can be pretty grating. I agree.
But some are really good.
What?
Yeah, there's a couple of good ones.
Jennifer Rush.
Totally close to the heart.
I like Extreme and Saigon Kick. Those are the only 2 bands I think can do power ballads.
Okay, I've not even heard of either of those. But
I like
you know Extreme.
Do I?
Extreme is more than words.
Yeah.
Oh right, okay.
More than words. Blah 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 blah.
That sounds beautiful.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
But and it is a big but. We have got the number 1s coming up, which could outdo the number 2s in stinking to high heaven, and we shall soon find out. Because Nathan, here is your number 1 worst film, slasher film, music or song. Okay, Nathan, take it away, please.
That is Are the Streets to Blame from Murder Rock, which is played during the best scene in the whole movie. Oh my God, I love this song so much. Like I
love that song, I too.
I was at work the other day and I was listening to it over and over and over again. And like I said, I know we're supposed to be picking worst, but I can't. I love all this music too much. I could not find any I dislike. But yeah, I love this song. I think it's so catchy, maybe to the point of being slightly annoying because I had it stuck in my head for a long, long time. But I don't care because, I need to know if the streets are to blame.
It's the slasher movie version of the Neutron Dance.
And also,
I love that song too, I have to say.
There's very slim pickings in Murder Rock, isn't there? Because it's probably the dullest Fulci film. Don't you think?
I don't know about the dullest. Have you seen
I'd say Cat in the
Devil's
Brain.
Honey?
Sorry?
Devil's Honey, I think, was probably the worst one I saw. Or Enigma.
I'd say Cat in the Brain would be his worst.
I quite like Cat in the Brain.
I've not seen Devil's Honey. Is that the one where the woman tinkles in a trumpet?
In a saxophone, is it?
Oh yeah.
I don't know if I can't remember if she tinkles in it, but she kidnaps a guy and plays saxophone a lot. And yeah.
Well, the only reason because there's a picture of her when she's hitching up a skirt, and there's a saxophone underneath. So unless she's very accommodating, I guess that's what she was doing.
Yeah, a sausage up Oxford Street.
Pardon?
Nothing.
Okay, right. Well, Nathan, is there anything else you want to say about your number 1?
Did you like my number 1, Justin?
I did. Well, it reminded me of Pearl's the Singer by Elkie Brooks, which I'm kind of... the only reason I know that one is because it was on... They're redoing Top of the Pops, which I know you've been watching, Erik.
I have, yeah, and Elkie Brooks was actually on it this week, but singing a different song.
You know what Top of the Pops is, do you, Erik and Nathan?
ABBA was on Top of the Pops in the 70s.
That's right. Yes, it was like the BBC. It was like the hit parade, basically. It was a bit like America's Top. Was it America's? Casey Kasem did that America's Top 10 or whatever.
Yeah, American Bandstand. It's sort of like that.
But it was kind of when they had like live people miming, but they had some very very strange things in the 70s. And but anyway, it sounded a bit like that. So
or like Soul Train, maybe.
Right. Well, thank you, Nathan. Joseph, let's see if you can outdo that or underdo it. Right, Joseph.
Oh my goodness.
Let's go west.
I love it.
Yeah. That's the theme music to Fatal Pulse.
Oh.
It's so repetitive. And it goes on forever and ever.
But you've had it stuck in your head for a long time.
Yes.
Pardon?
It's one of those, I hate it, but every time I hear it, I'm an hour later, I'm going, dun, 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 and I can't stop. So that's another Nathan is to blame because he used to play it over and over.
I did. I would rewind it and replay it, rewind it and replay it.
So you're saying that Nathan's stuck in your head?
Unfortunately.
Right.
Well, I mean, it's kind of that way for everybody. Once you know me, you just can't get rid of me.
Like a rash.
And I know what the double entendre was there. I'm not totally oblivious to it. I was just my awesomeness overtook that, though.
Okay. Well, no, fair enough. But yes, Fatal Pulse is another. That's the film with the death by record, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Which kind of preceded the not similar scene, but that in Shaun of the Dead, isn't it? When they were throwing records at the zombies.
Mm-hmm. Isn't there death by CD in Hellraiser 3?
There is.
Yep.
Yes, but this was 89, wasn't it? Fatal Pulse or something like that.
Yeah.
80s.
And in The Rage Carry 2, a girl gets hit with CDs and dies.
In what?
Which one?
In The Rage Carry 2.
Oh.
Okay.
Can't remember that.
So we need to maybe get someone being hit on the head with an iPhone or something, don't we? Just sort of.
Yeah, to bring it up to date. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, isn't there a scene in See No Evil where a girl gets her cell phone shoved down her throat or something? And I don't know if it's a smartphone, though. It may be before a smartphone.
Oh, what, the one?
Yeah, it's a little before smartphones.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Joseph. That was suitably awful.
Mm-hmm.
Or lovely, or whichever way. But let's find out what we think about Eric's number one.
Romeo, 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 Romeo.
Right, Eric.
Okay, that is from Halloween 5. It's Romeo, Romeo, performed by Becca, who I couldn't really find any information on, so I assume this is her one claim to fame, that she was on the Halloween 5 soundtrack. I just like, well, I know it's supposed to be, as Nathan said, it's supposed to be films or music we hate, but I like this sort of deliciously trashy, really, really heavily dated 80s bubblegum pop. It almost borders on annoying, and it kind of, I think, is the musical equivalent of the character of Tina in Halloween 5. And I also can relate to the song, because the song's about a boy called Romeo that you want to leave to, head back out the window.
I don't get it.
That's the lyrics of the song. It's Romeo, Romeo, head back out the window, or something like that. Anyway, it's just pure trash. And I also thought, what song will annoy Justin the most? And I said, probably Romeo, Romeo from Halloween 5. He'll probably hate that one. So
why would it annoy me?
I don't know. I can imagine it's probably the epitome of 80s music that you wouldn't like being a goth. I mean, if you played that next to, say, Spellbound by Susie and the Banshees, it was probably the polar opposite.
Well, it probably is, but I mean, I've heard a lot worse. I mean, there's Toy's back catalogue to start.
Oh, go away!
Oh, we're almost over it now, aren't we, Erik?
Yes, almost. Yeah.
But you chose that.
But no, it is. I think the fact that the production on it is so dated, it stops it being crap and makes it kind of like fun.
I think it's quite catchy. I don't hate it, but
much
I
like Toya stuff.
Sorry?
I don't like this episode.
Wait, I thought you were saying Toya stuff is really catchy. That's not an insult. Am I lost?
He said by it being so old and dated, it kind of makes it kitschy.
Okay, never mind.
Gosh.
Well, Toya and Susie are like the same age, so I don't know why the old...
Toya is a year younger than Susie.
Oh. I mean, she looks a lot younger. Give
She
her
is.
that.
Yeah, she
Well,
does.
Susie does. I know.
Yeah. No, Toya
No,
does.
If you pull off like that 5 pounds of makeup on Susie's face, then who knows what you're going to find underneath. I'm just saying.
Yes. I'm thinking Medusa from Clash of the Titans.
I'm thinking Cthulhu.
Yeah, but Susie hasn't had a facelift, unlike Toya, who's been stretched, from here to Kingdom Come, isn't she? Well, apparently she talked about it, didn't she? She had a facelift.
Okay, I'm just going to go on to bullyingatwork.com and just register my complaints.
Okay, well, while you're doing that, Eric, I'll play my number 1.
1, mark it. 3, 4. Young and groovy, shot 1, take 1,000. Watch the lip sync and action.
I'm cool, she's hot. Can't put my finger on just what you got. And late at night, I'm thinking, dear, I'd like to take it far away from here. She's young and single, she's good loving me. Young and single,
Guys, having a great time.
young and single, she's good loving me. Young and cool is all I need. And when I walk, I look sharp. The little shoes gonna steal my heart. And if
That's young and not so groovy from the Australian slasher movie, late 80s slasher movie, Houseboat Horror, which is a horror in more ways than one, and that's the Resident. I think it's a band, isn't it? I haven't seen it. I haven't been able to bring myself to watch it for a number of years, but I think it's the band that goes on the houseboat, and that song Young and Groovy, which I think is probably the worst, in my opinion, probably the worst song from any slasher movie. Any comments?
I like it. Again,
like it?
it's
I
a
do
kitsch,
too.
it's fun.
Yeah.
If I was doing my true top 3 awful things, it would probably be from sort of 90s ones that have sort of generic indie American pop songs. But something like that, I think, is so ghastly that it's terrific.
Well, it is pretty ghastly. Can I just pause? Not pause, but you're talking about yourself. There's a cat trying to get in the door. So talking about yourselves, I'm going to take my headphones off. So no cracks about Susie.
Oh, there's a cat.
Hey, kitty, 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 kitty. Here, kitty, kitty, kitty.
This is my opportunity to crack open a Coke Zero. There you go.
Waggle, 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 waggle.
What are you singing?
Hey, Bait 3D is out. I didn't know that.
Is that in the cinemas, yeah? Because Mitch King put on
Actually, I think it's on video on demand.
I went to Best Buy last night and they had it for sale.
Oh.
Have you seen it yet?
No, I want to, but I haven't seen it yet.
That was strange.
Are we going to Greg's next Friday?
No.
No.
I'm still recording. I'm still recording, by the way. This is the behind the scenes of the Hysteria Continues.
I have a question for you, Justin. If your cats are like, I don't know, doing something that annoys you, like clawing your furniture or something, how do you discipline them?
Well, just shoo them away.
Okay.
I don't sort of really discipline them, but just kind of I'll take them off the sofa and put them by the scratching pad. But strangely, I could hear a cat mewling, and when I opened the door, there was no cat there. So it's a phantom
Spooky.
pussy. But do I need to edit that bit out, or are we going to leave that in? Because no, I haven't got time. What? Did you say
I opened
rude?
a can of Coke Zero.
Well, that's okay. As I say, it's a kind of fascinating glimpse behind the curtain of Hysteria Continues, wasn't it?
Fair enough.
Yes. Well, you see, it's kind of like was it cinema verite?
Verite.
Breaking the fourth wall.
Exactly. So yes. So, but that was our top 3 worst music from slasher movies, or as you heard, people obviously couldn't choose the worst music because some people have certain types of tastes, don't they, Erik? And
I know what you're thinking. Yes, I knew this was going to come up.
What?
I knew you were going to say, I sprite and pick Toya for your worst music.
See what you've caused, what havoc you've wreaked with your suggestion. Whoever it was, very kindly suggested this. So before we start punching each other in the ring, I think we should move on and maybe onto our feature presentation. What do we think? Yes. Yes. Okay. I can tell it's going to be one of those shows, but here we go. Nathan, you bring it back after the trailer for Movie House Massacre.
Welcome to a theater that's been closed for 50 years. Tickets are now available for opening night. But be warned, when the lights go down, the body count goes up.
I don't care if you're sick. You have to come in tonight. We're out of employees. I mean, right now. Hello?
Free vacation? What makes you think you deserve that?
Consider it my payment for not saying anything.
It's just one of the many added attractions of this theater. If you stay a little longer, you may get to see the feature presentation.
Every time that theater's been opened, someone's been killed in it.
The next time you scream in a theater, it may be for your life. Blood Theater, where butter isn't the only thing dripping on the popcorn. Blood Theater, starring Mary Warrenoff.
Blood Theater, or aka Movie House Massacre, is a blood-curdling shocker about the reopening of an old movie house plagued with a history of unexplained tragedies. Opening night looms ahead, and as the days pass, danger signs warn of impending doom. But all the warnings are ignored. Finally, the moment of truth descends. Are the patrons screaming at the horror on the screen or in the aisles? And that is an accurate description of this film, I have to say. And yes, I love The Doors. No, I love Movie House Massacre just because it's so cheesy and funny, and I mean, it's got one of the best bitch characters of all time in it, Selena. I remember I still have this memory of Justin talking about Selena, talking about her, while at work, going into the theater, flashing the audience and shouting things like, "I am the main feature." I mean, like, she's awesome. I mean, I love her character, but Movie House Massacre is it's got a lot of funny scenes in it, and I love the movies that are playing. On Justin's site, one of his dialogue selections is from one of the trailers that's playing in the movie, where someone's like, "Oh my God, who brought that chainsaw to the prom?" I want to see that movie too, but unfortunately, it's not a real movie. I love Mary Warrenoff. I love her in just about everything that she's in. So, I mean, she's a lot of fun in this movie as well. I like her interactions, especially her interactions with Selena. I mean, pretty much any scene with Selena is going to be one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
Sit on this, bitch!
There you go. And then I love her, her scenes with the cheerleaders. I mean, she just runs down there and starts mocking the cheerleaders. I mean, she's so immature. Oh, and one of the best scenes in the movie, and I think also this came from Justin, was when one of the large plants falls from up above, and the girl looks up, Selena's friend, and sees a bunch of plants up there, and she goes, "Look, there's more of them." But no, I love it. I think it's an awesome movie. But, there's plenty to say, so I think I will hand it off to Joseph.
Thank you. Well, I hadn't seen the film since I watched it with you for the first time about 10 years ago. But so I watched it this week. And boy, I think some of it's funny. But it's also a movie that after I watched it, I pretty much erased it from my memory except for some of the funnier scenes. I mean, I like I like Mary Warrenoff. I like the whole, every time a door opens, that sound is played, and they do it ad nauseum.
What sound is that?
It's the whoosh sound, the whoosh.
That was a cue for Justin to play the sound.
Mm-hmm. Which he keeps doing over and over.
It's just in homage.
Much like the film.
Yeah, much like the film. And I like the scene with the person getting killed in the popcorn machine. But man, this movie is so dreadful. I mean, otherwise, I guess you could say it's kind of fun, but the fact that I don't really remember much about it, even though I watched it like 2 days ago, just kind of, I guess that kind of says something. So. Yeah, I mean, if you want a good kind of a chuckle, I'd say, yeah, go watch it. But if you want a slasher movie, like a good one, look elsewhere. Definitely look elsewhere. So, I guess I'll marginally recommend it just for the laughs. But other than that, no.
Well, it's still kind of a recommendation from you. What about you, Erik?
Yeah.
I just can't stop laughing every time I hear that sound effect. Now, I agree with both Nathan and Joseph. I think the film is diabolically awful, but unlike Joseph, I found myself really, really liking the film for some reason. Much like A Night to Dismember, which we reviewed a couple of podcasts ago, I think it's just so strange that it becomes hypnotically good in some way. I mean, I was absorbed for the 75 minutes or whatever the short running time was. As Nathan said, I love the character of Selena. I think she is amazing. Now, I know, Justin, you probably have problems with the comparisons to John Waters films, but I think it's quite. I mean, I know that. I don't know if it's deliberate, but the character of Selena reminds me of Dawn Davenport from Female Trouble. That's the character name, isn't it? Dawn Davenport. Have I got that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yep. Because she really reminds me of Divine, the way she just strolls into the cinema when she feels that people higher up the corporate ladder than her are getting freebies that she feels she should have. So she goes in and gets her tits out and starts being abusive to customers. I just think that's utterly fantastic. And the sound effect, of course, of the door, whoosh, it's not. Yep, that's the one. And it's not just once. It's about, I suppose it's about 15, 20 times in the entire movie. You get that sound effect. I love the way Selena mocks the cheerleaders in that scene. And I couldn't really understand what the scenario was. You have the character, what's her name? Jennifer, is it? Who's a cheerleader by day, but she manages a cinema by night. And I couldn't really equate the two. I was wondering, is she in high school or what's going on here? And some of her friends come to the cinema and they end up being killed. I mean, the film feels quite unfinished, and I'm sure, I know that in the interview that Nathan did with Rick Sloan, it kind of explains what happened there. But I think it has that same atmosphere for me as films like Scream, the 1981 version, not the 1996 one, and films like Stormbringer, Skullduggery, that type of one, where the film is quite low budget, where to the point where the filmmakers didn't have time to flesh out the plot, so it feels really bizarre and quite surreal. I mean, the film is plops for sure, but I think it's plops that you might get a kick out of for one viewing, certainly. I was quite enjoying it, I have to say. As unterrifying as it was, and as unlike a proper slasher movie as it was, I ended up quite enjoying it, I have to say.
Oh, awesome. I'm happy that you enjoyed it. So far, I'm very impressed.
Yeah. Well, this was the first time I'd seen it, I have to say. I mean, I'd never seen the film before until I watched it last Monday. So, but cool. The old scenario where you go into a film and that has been reviewed really badly, so your expectations are really low. I'm sure if I'd seen this film blind, I would have had a different reaction. But because everything was so negative about it, I was pleasantly surprised at how fun it was. Deliberately or non-deliberately it was. I'm not sure.
Exactly. What about you, Justin?
Well, I've got mixed feelings about it because obviously I reread my review on Hysteria Lives, which is from quite a long time ago now, and I agree with everything that's been said, in so much that I thought, Selena and Darcy are fantastic characters, especially Selena, and Joanna Morales, who played Selena. I mean, she, I'll get onto it in a little bit about, what I can with some of the background. And also we've got, obviously, Nathan's interview of Rick Sloane, and it's got quite an interesting background. And I think, actually, in a lot of ways, probably the story behind the film and some of the stories that Rick talks about and some of the ones Joanna told me a few years back are probably a lot more interesting than the film itself. But yeah, I love her character. I think she's fantastic. I would have loved to have seen her character with her real voice, because Rick talks about it in the interview a bit about why they had to dub it, but they dubbed her with a different actress, and it's almost the similar way that in House on Sorority Row they dubbed the woman who played the house mother with a really low gravelly voice. And I would have loved to have heard Selena's kind of high pitched Valley Girl voice. Would have been probably quite entertaining. But yeah, I love Selena's character, who wears gold spandex to work. That scene where she comes to the cinema and she's got an angel on one shoulder and hers a devil on the other shoulder in red hot pants, and the angel saying, "Don't do it, Selena," and the devil's going, do it, Selena," and then she rushes over and flashes her boobs. And again, talk a little bit more about Selena, but the reason she got in contact with me a number of years ago is because she was, as I'm sure many of us do, sometimes put our names into Google, and there was a picture of her with her tits out, which caused her to stop and spit her drink out. And so that's how I got to know her slightly, but again, we'll come to that a little bit. But the film, apart from that, ultimately it's like an amateur dramatics all round. I think, as Rick says, the only person who could act in the film is Mary Warnoff, who is, a super talent, who's a fantastic actress, and you can tell in this. And it is what it is. It's kind of, it is a student film, as Rick acknowledges, and it's don't go into this looking for thrills of any kind. It doesn't make a lick of sense either. It's got the whole idea of this kind of opening up this cinema that was closed 50 years ago. Doesn't make any sense why the manager killed people at the beginning in the it doesn't make any sense where the
because his girlfriend was cheating on him.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Because the thing is, I've seen a different version of this film, because I've got this old video. It's an American video, but nobody dies in the version I watched today in the popcorn machine. So I think it's missing bits of it, and it might have other bits.
That's a dream sequence that Jennifer has. She dies in the popcorn machine. No, is that in your version? No,
I thought she was in the. Jennifer's in the. She's in the box, in the ticket box, and then she kind of.
But later in the movie, she has a dream where she dies in the popcorn machine.
I don't remember seeing that.
All right.
Seeing that in this one, but you see, I've got this. It's not the first time that films have been put out in different versions, and I think Rick actually alludes to it, saying there's quite a few different versions of this film. But funnily enough, on the box I've got, someone's written in marker pen, "Do not rent." Oh no, do not see Movie House Massacre, and it wasn't me, but it was on there when I bought it, and that was probably a hint.
Is it a UK or a US release?
It's a US release.
Yeah, because I was looking up BBFC and I couldn't find any reference to it, so I don't think it got released in this part of the world.
Not I'm aware of. No. But I liked it. I'd liked it. I didn't like it. I thought it's an awful movie, but it's got some endearingly bad bits in it, which are very John Waters-esque, and as Joanna saying, it was definitely that was the intention, and to go down that route, and it works in some cases, and it doesn't work in others. The other thing that kind of I couldn't help but watch all the time was Jennifer's hair. She's the cheerleader, the one you're talking about, Erik, and she's got this kind of poodle kind of hair, hasn't she?
Yes.
She's got this kind of like a sort of blonde pubic crash helmet with these kind of flaps at the side, and it's like a cascading mudslide of. It's just bizarre. I've never seen anything quite like it before. And it's got some of the worst gore effects. I mean, basically, again, you don't watch this film for any kind of thrills. It's got the decapitation, which it looks like it was done by, done by preschoolers, and there's lots of really bloodless stabbings. And it's got the unscariest villain ever, which is there's somebody they've obviously picked up from the old people's home and promised him some Werther's Originals and gave him a rubber knife to stab.
I like Werther's Originals.
So do I.
But
I'm only 22.
But you say you're only 22?
Yep.
And the rest. But yeah, that's my tuppence at the moment. But I'm sure there's more to be said about it.
Well, I think the worst part of the film is not the effects, it's the music. If you have that clip there, Justin, this is not a piece of incidental music. This is a piece of music the girls are listening to on their stereo. So if you have it there.
What kind of joke is this?
This can't be the right place.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I mean, I was very much alive in 1984 and there was no music like that in the charts, I can guarantee you.
No. It was. Well, that's the other thing about the film, because it's almost like the music is dropped in randomly in bits, because there's elements where you could build suspense. You could have built suspense using music, and there's great long stretches of the film with no music at all. And then suddenly you get like a massive organ pop up, don't you?
You do, yes.
And
Rick Sloan is responsible for the music in this film, as far as I can tell from the credits.
Sounds like you were going to call him Rapunzel for a second there.
Yes.
Oh, I mean,
what do you guys think of the decapitation scene?
Well, as
very,
I said,
very scary.
It was, yeah. I mean, Herschel Gordon Lewis wants his cardboard model back. I think it was.
That's an insult to Herschel Gordon Lewis.
And so does Jess Franco. He wants to borrow it for his for Bloody Moon.
Well, that Bloody Moon, that looks like it was done by Industrial Light and Magic compared to this.
True.
It does.
That's a good analogy. Yes.
Yes, it was. Yeah. But having said that, it was as we'll hear from Rick shortly, it was basically a student project.
Yes, and he was only 21 when he made it, so you have to, have that in mind as well.
Was he in the film? Because it says he's in the credits as one of the actors, but
he plays a cop, doesn't he?
Oh, is he one of the cops?
At the very end.
Doorman?
Do you mean the highly climactic moment where the two cops wander in as if they're looking for donuts, and it freeze frames on them, sort of looking gormless, and that's it?
I think he's one of them.
Right.
Yeah.
It's one of those endings that leaves you thinking.
Yeah,
it makes you thinking, why have I just wasted the last 90 minutes of my life watching this crap? I think that's what it meant.
Technically, it's 75 minutes.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Well, I got to tell anybody listening that I was one of the ones that was very confused about how Selena died, because her death I didn't understand it. So he at least explains that.
Well, I think Justin put it quite eloquently in the interview he did with Selena, saying that she was killed by a recycling bin.
Yes. Yeah. And someone turning a lamp on and off.
Yeah.
But, well, do we think it's maybe time to break and listen to Nathan's interview with Rick, and then obviously we can
Yes, the very good interview with Rick.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, do you want to introduce that, Nathan?
Yes. This is Rick Sloan. I mean, I know the credits say Alice Rayleigh, but actually Rick Sloan is responsible for Movie House Massacre.
No, Selena, don't do it. Do it, Selena, do it.
I guess to get started here, I'm curious, where did the idea for Blood Theater come from?
God, we're going way back. That movie, actually, we rolled camera. It was 82. It was 30 years ago. All my films, I'm not going to pretend they're original. They're all specifically borrowed from one movie in particular. And Blood Theater is usually the one that's trickier to figure out. I was trying to create the same vibe from the movie The Shining. I thought that movie was so creepy. That huge hotel that was kind of haunted. So, I intentionally wanted like an old movie theater that had that same look, with lots of red and all that darkness and the lighting where you can't really see too much in the background. Don't think I really captured the atmospheric mood of The Shining. That was kind of what I was going for, but at the same time, it was kind of a parody of just all those really bad horror films that came out right after Halloween. There's like one every week, and particularly the death scenes. I wanted some really bizarre ones that you never had seen in the movie. But they all had to be movie theater related, like getting fried in popcorn oil in the popcorn machine, or getting stabbed in the ticket booth, getting stabbed while the movie is running in the theater, getting electrocuted by the projector. There's a whole bunch of them.
What was it like getting started on your first film? I know you had mentioned to me, and when we were talking before, about some interesting stories regarding when you were using film school.
Blood Theater still remains, I don't know, my best I got the last laugh story. I had never worked on a real film, never been on a real film set. All I had done before Blood Theater were like 2 and 3 minute short films that never had dialogue. They were basically just sound effects with narration, a lot of fake trailers. One's Clown Horse of Hollywood, which kind of got recycled into Blood Theater. And I just figured I bet I could shoot a feature film the exact same way I shot a 5-minute film, which is just set up the camera. I didn't need a huge crew, and get the movie. And oddly, it actually did work. I did shoot it exactly like a short film. It just kept going on and on. I did trick the film school instructors. I was positive they wouldn't have approved a feature film, and they actually told me later they wouldn't have. So I did give them a fake 10-page script, but because everyone else took a year to shoot their 10-minute movie, there was no suspicion that for how long I was shooting my film and editing it, because nobody picked up on it. And it was pretty much in the can by the time they figured out how long the movie was. And I did a test screening for the students, and I knew back then these were pretentious film students. They were not my audience. Everyone hated the film and said I should cut it to 10 minutes long. And one of the instructors even said I should choose another career other than filmmaking. But oddly, I took a lot of phone calls, but I got a distribution deal and I got a second movie. And by the time that thing was finished, I was 23, and I was guest speaking in front of the whole auditorium at LA City College. And I always remember, like, the 200 to 300 students in the audience, this energy coming off of them. They all knew my film wasn't very good, but everyone was kind of resentful that I was the one who did it first and got the distribution deal. So I always thought I got last laugh on that one. But yeah, and oddly, because I'm planning to reissue Blood Theater with tons of bonus material, none of my original film school instructors wanted to be included in the interview, so they kind of are. I don't think they want to be reminded of the incident either.
Mary Warnoff, she'd become quite a well-known B-movie actress when Blood Theater was made. How did she get involved with the film, and what was it like working with her?
I love Mary Warnoff. I mean, she's one of my all-time favorite actresses I've worked with. She was like at the peak of her career. Eating Raoul was in theaters at the time. I modeled the character after Mary Warnoff, but I never figured she would ever consider doing it. I don't know why. I just figured, why don't you send the script to her agent? You never know. And she wanted to meet for lunch, which made me even more nervous because, my first appearance would have a lot to do with whether she decided yes or no, and she decided to do it. It was a huge favor she did for me because the film would be so unwatchable without her in it. But it was just, she's the first real actor I've ever worked with to actually have someone who knew instantly the way the line was written, how to deliver it. I mean, she stands out in the movie because no one else in that film can act at all. But I loved working with Mary. I actually had her back, I think 8 years later for Good Girls Don't. And in 2009, we had, it was the 25th anniversary screening of Blood Theater in Los Angeles at the New Beverly Cinema, and I asked Mary Warnoff if she would come in as a guest, and she said yes. So I had a lot of fun, and that'll be as a DVD bonus feature. We shot the whole thing.
My favorite question, do you have any fun behind-the-scenes stories you can share about Blood Theater?
Let's see which ones are appropriate. The actress who played Selena probably has the funniest stories because she was such a slut. I think she slept with everyone in the crew. She pretty much got around. Who she was in real life, she was such a caricature of a valley girl with way too much promiscuity and really stupid. She kind of became the inspiration for a lot of characters characters in my later films. The character Daphne from Hobgoblins is completely based on Joanna. That's how Joanna acted every day. I mean, Joanna once got on the theater loudspeaker at the Tiffany where they were screening Rocky Horror and said, if anyone wants to have sex with me, here's my number. And she gave her number out to like 300 people.
Wow.
So I'm sure she had a busy night, but that's a classic one. And the actual location, not for Spotlight. Okay, this is a great story. Spotlight Theaters was a parody of. This was the Beverly Center, which is, I despise that place. It's the first big mall built in Los Angeles, and it was the first multiplex movie theater. And specifically, I got the idea for these jokes because that was the only theater showing Eating Raoul. And I remember going there and the maze of trying to find which was the right theater, and the theater was built like at a 45-degree angle, like something was cut in half. And specifically, I don't know what movie was playing next door, but it was louder than the film I was watching. So Spotlight Theaters was just at the time, there weren't that many multiplexes. That was the beginning of it. It was just parodying the annoyance. I love the old single-screen theaters. There aren't too many of them left, but I hate those multiplex theaters. So, yes, Spotlight Theaters, it's overly automated. The recordings get stuck and keep repeating. The popcorn machine's broken. But, yeah, I love that. 4 screens, no waiting. We don't care if the movie next door sounds better. But, yeah, that's where that came from originally. The whole thing. I got a lot of mileage out of the Spotlight Theater jokes. But literally, when you hear the announcement or you see the posters, all the movies they actually play were short films I made. Only Clown Horrors of Hollywood actually made it into the final movie, but all the other ones, Chainsaw Chicks, Amputee Hookers, Nightmare of the Lost Horrors, they're all going to be on the DVD reissue. But yeah, I actually shot fake trailers for all those things.
I really want to see the trailer for, I'm guessing it's Chainsaw Chicks, because it's the one where you hear some girl say, oh my God, who brought that chainsaw to the prom?
Oh, that line actually is the real truth. If you look at Hobgoblins 2, I actually, the characters are watching the trailer to Chainsaw Chicks. It was just, to me, Chainsaw Chicks and Amputee Hookers was like my best combo in terms of just bad grindhouse filmmaking. So, yeah, Hobgoblins 2, I have them on there, but I'm going to do a much more elaborate one. I'm going to have the whole Spotlight Theater preview reel at the very beginning of Blood Theater with all their bad trailers and all this other footage. There's a lot of footage we shot that never made the final movie. And it's one of the few films I have kept at all. So.
Oh, okay, because I was actually going to ask you if there were any scenes cut from the finished film.
The only one that sounds interesting, but when you actually watch it, you'll see why it didn't make the final movie. All those characters at the very, very beginning who die, mysteriously from that one-match fire that seems to, torch the whole place, they actually come back at the end of the movie. They're zombies. They come out from under the screen where they were supposedly buried, or just that's as far as they got. But it was a combination of everyone did their own makeup, and it was so bad. And it was, I don't know, before I realized most of the film was laughable, it was like the worst-looking scene. Then when I saw Poltergeist came out, and they had a pretty similar ending about a theater, that was, about a housing project built over a cemetery, I'm thinking, okay, better not use it. But I don't want to get everyone's hopes up when you actually see the footage. You're not going to go, God, what a better ending. We should have used it. It's like, no, you're going to see like, oh, I see why it was cut quickly.
Well, it sort of sounds like the actress playing Selena was quite a character to work with. You said that she actually, some of the things that Selena does in the movie was actually her idea.
The gold spandex pants. The whole scene where she takes her top off watching the movie, she still holds the record, and, I'll give her credit for this. As the only actress I've ever worked with to do nudity for free, she never got paid. So, as much as she pretends she was embarrassed doing that scene, she suggested it. I thought it was, personally, for all the things in the movie that don't work, that's one of the few scenes it's funny where it's supposed to be. I love where Mary Warnoff yanks her out of the theater and smacks her around. I thought that was funny.
I love that. I love, that she's, an employee of the theater, and she just comes in there and then, flashes, the audience and gets into spots with the audience, throwing popcorn on them.
That was one scene. I don't remember how we snagged all those actors. Those were all students at LA City College, and when I rolled camera for that scene, I didn't tell anyone what the scene was. I didn't rehearse it. I'm thinking, No, first of all, if the school knew I was doing a scene where a girl was getting topless, I don't think they would have approved it. So it was kind of action, and let's see how far we can get before we get shut down, which we didn't get shut down. But it's just a funny thing, because when I called cut after the first take, there was all these gasps of, like, that girl standing there topless, who actually didn't bother to put her bra back on between takes.
There's a sound effect when the doors open. There's this sound effect, and I always wondered what the story was behind that.
That's one of the most common Blood Theater questions I always get asked. Because I shot so little live sound, and we had a really loud camera, that when we had to notch filter it out of the mix, it took so much noise off, the whole movie sounded kind of like it was recorded in an airplane hangar. There were just no footsteps. The footsteps on the carpet never really picked up, and this was before I didn't have the training yet in sound editing that I would have known to put them in. So there was just so much dead air that I knew from the beginning the old movie theater, that's a crypt door from like a horror movie record when it slides closed. That one I kind of knew going in, because I remember lining that shot up with the sound effect and really liking it. The ones at Spotlight Theaters, I don't know what that sound effect was called. I know it was nicknamed Star Trek door. It's not really from the show, but it was just a whoosh. I mean, the fact that people go in and out of doors like probably 100 times in that movie, because you hear that effect over and over. But it was called whoosh, and I always thought it hit the fact that you can't hear their footsteps. But I certainly didn't really put it in as loud as I did.
And where exactly was Blood Theater filmed? I think you said that it was in a theater that's torn down now?
It's kind of sad. It was one of the most historic Los Angeles landmarks. And I don't know the name of the designer. There's 3 Los Angeles-based deco theaters he did. There's the Wiltern, the Pantages, and that theater had several names. It was like the Warner, the Stanley Warner, the Beverly Warner. It was this beautiful 3,000-seat deco palace. It was, recently I had spoken with the LA Theater Conservatory, where they actually try to save old movie theaters. And to this day, that theater remains the one battle they lost. So there is something historic that when you watch the movie, that theater's going to be torn down about a year or two later. It is the final look at it, and it was always kind of sad, because I didn't realize the place was going to be torn down, but kind of sad it's immortalized in such a bad movie.
The credits to Blood Theater, the director is listed as Alice Rayleigh. What's the story behind that?
Alice was assistant director on the movie. She's actually in the popcorn scene where Selena takes her blouse off. She's the one who says, sit down. She's the last one. They start fighting before Mary Warnoff comes in. I just remember, because I already had something, by the time I finished that, I already had my second movie. I'm not going to say in pre-production. I had it planned already. So I remember thinking, Blood Theater is such a god-awful movie. Do I really want it forever known as my first movie? And I thought, because technically it's a glorified student film. So I asked Alice if she wanted directing credit, and she said yes. So, there's a lot of overseas that always had my name on it, but in the U.S. I kind of was going to deny that was ever one of my movies. But several people over the years knew it was mine, even though my name wasn't on it.
Was it difficult getting distribution for it?
A better question would be, was it difficult getting the money I was supposed to get from it? Well, I was naive. I took it to a lot of big companies like Warner Brothers and MGM first. Of course, they all passed on it. And then I started going. I seriously believe, to this day, I always debated. I should have just taken the print to one of the local grindhouse theaters and said, do you want like a double or a triple bill for whatever bad movie you have this week, and have this for like $100 a night or something? Because I always did kind of imagine a theatrical for it. But, it did go straight to video. When Variety reviewed it, they actually questioned why the film skipped theaters, but I think it's kind of obvious. It's pretty hard to make a film that doesn't get distribution. I mean, I've made some pretty bad films. Though, oddly, Blood Theater probably had the most rejections of any film I made. This is the one that no one ever believes. Hobgoblins is the only film I made that had a bidding war. So that's the contrast of what you get on those types of movies.
Have you kept in contact with anyone that worked on the film?
Except for Mary, starting with my second film, The Visitants, I kind of began the Rick Sloan group of actors who you'll see over. There's a lot of actors who've done 5 or 8 movies for me. Blood Theater, the acting is so terrible. I mean, there's really, other than Mary, there's no one else in that film. I mean, literally by the time we were shooting the last final days, because the actors were just so bad, that I just started adding extra characters who worked in the theater just so I wouldn't have to call the original cast back for more footage. It was kind of, we're both mutually glad we're not in touch.
Oh, okay. So, I guess I should take it that you're not in touch with Joanna then.
I've tried. Yeah, she had some hysterical, I don't know, I couldn't find it recently, but she trashes that movie, and as much as she thinks she's probably, like, really hurt my feelings and I'm crying over it, I'm so used to bad publicity from Hobgoblins that I think her interviews are hysterical because so few people are that blunt about how cheap and bad it is to work on one of my films. I mean, I think I tried contacting her on Facebook. I think she blocked me, but no, I'd love to get her in for an interview. I don't think she realizes that I'm not angry at her. I think it's, I want her to tell the stories exactly the way she remembers them, even though she was doped up at her mind at the time.
Oh, yes. And you said that she's is she the only one that's dubbed by someone else?
That was a debate I had in editing. I can do her real voice. She has this screech. I actually will probably put some outtakes on the DVD reissue with her real voice. She goes like, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. It's just kind of painful after. The woman who dubbed her sounds nothing like her. That's why it's so obvious. I remember literally I recorded the other actress, but I kept her voice. I had two separate channels and just playing it for a variety of people. And there wasn't one person who said leave her voice in. Everyone just took one listen and said, yeah, use the other actress.
And I know that we were talking before the show started. You had mentioned one story about the main actress, that she actually left.
Yeah, it was some unprofessional bitch. It was like, yeah, we had probably 2/3 of Blood Theater shot, and it's a red flag that whenever I hear this today, I won't hire people. I remember during the interview, she says, I only want to give you 5 years permission to show the film because I'm going to be famous. And I was like, well, that certainly didn't happen, but I've only heard that from 2 other people. I know not to hire people when I hear that. No, I mean, I'm sure I remember I tried suing her to finish the movie, and she countersued me for all these stupid things. But, yeah, we had to have another actress come in to play Jennifer, and we had to reshoot a good chunk of the movie. But by the time we were shooting her scenes, most of the other actors didn't want to come in. So there is a thing, if you really pay attention through the movie, that anytime there's a master shot where you think all the actors are there, someone's being body doubled. There's always body doubles for Jennifer or for Mary Warnock. Just a lot of, like, Jennifer and Mary Warnock never were there at the same time. It's completely done with body doubles.
Yeah, and I went back after you had mentioned that to me to watch the film and saw that. Because, I didn't really notice it before.
No one ever does. It's just, it explains a lot of the bad editing.
Let's see, and I wanted to ask you, and I forgot to put this in our list of interview questions, but it was something I was very curious about, is Selena's death scene. Mm-hmm. I'm guessing she kind of dies off screen because we don't really see what happens to her. Did you originally have a death scene in mind on screen for her, or?
I was trying to create, this is one of those things in a horror movie that it reads well on paper, that all the energy of all the people who were dead, because she kind of, because when that door slams open and she's on the telephone, there's this, like, huge white light that comes in. It was supposed to be like, I don't know, I think House on Haunted Hill in the remake, they actually do the scene correctly, of what it's like when the evil entity of a building comes and gets someone. It was just always vague, but to me I was much more focused. I never did do the optical shot. There's a telephone line. You're supposed to see like a white light travel across it. But I love the shot where Mary Warnock's listening to that girl screaming as she's dying and the phone comes apart on her hand. So to me, that was the gag of the shot anyway. So I think I intentionally chose the death that was more interesting to listen to on the phone than actually watch.
Okay. I kind of love the fact that Mary Warnock's character dislikes Selena so much that it seems that the only thing she cares about is that phone came apart in her hand. The fact that Selena's dying, that doesn't really bother her.
The way it was in the script, it was like her final scream was supposed to shatter the phone or something. But I tried all these different things to make a phone that would break to pieces. And the one we actually used, it was Crisco shortening put in the freezer in a phone mold. I mean, we literally had like 10 seconds from action because the thing was like melting just being on set. So, Mary was a pro. She held that thing to look like a phone, like in one piece. But again, it's another gag in the movie. In the script, it made a lot more sense, and it kind of comes off as what just happened.
Yeah, it's actually, I'm glad I'm getting these answers because, being such a big fan of the movie, I've definitely been curious about, that as well, was, Selena's death scene and the phone coming apart, because actually I was really impressed when the phone came apart because it happened so quickly. Like, it always, anytime I watch it with somebody, it takes them by surprise. They're just sitting there going, what just happened?
I know, if only it made more sense. But it is a cool effect. I don't know. Just on paper, it was supposed to be her scream shatters the telephones. What it was supposed to be.
Let's see. I also was curious if you're a horror movie fan yourself and what some of your favorites are, if so.
I love horror movies. It's hard to find people to watch them because not everybody likes them. Fortunately, I love really, really bad ones, but ones I actually like, I loved Candyman. I thought that was such a good movie. I love The Shining, Dead Silence, which is not that well known. It's from the guy who did the Saw franchise. I like The Hills Run Red. It's another kind of B knockoff movie. I love Drag Me to Hell. I thought that was such a great movie. It's more of a morality play at the end, but just to me, most horror films you can't guess the ending. But the problem is most of them are so badly done. Not only can you guess the ending, you can guess it and save yourself an hour of viewing. Because it's so hard to do a surprise ending that isn't really blatantly obvious. So, I liked Hatchet. The one that I always like to talk about in interviews because it's so damn bad. It's Lindsay Lohan and I Know Who Killed Me, which it's kind of like Showgirls. It's a film that ended her career single-handedly, but it's such a bad movie. She's demotic twins. She's an amputee stripper and a straight-A student. It's one of those things you look at and go, what was she thinking? But as bad as the movie is, I get so much enjoyment watching it.
Let's see. And you're still making movies today, right? I mean, you made Hobgoblins too, which I haven't seen yet, and I want to see.
That was a tricky one. To me, it was like Psycho 2 or Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. It's really hard when 20 years go by and you try to recreate the same feel. It had mixed reaction from fans. It was a lot of work just intentionally shooting it the way I did a film 20 years earlier, where the camera, like when people were driving cars, the cars would be parked with people shaking the car and waving lights, which Hobgoblins was the final movie I ever did that. We actually had car mounts on the hood for future movies. But for Hobgoblins 2, I intentionally did it the cheap way. But I'm reissuing. I have one of my other lesser-known movies. It was released in '92. It was called Mind, Body, and Soul. My only film to have censorship problems. It was about the devil, and it was banned in over 14 countries. So this past year, I went back, and for all the filler that I had to put into the movie, I actually replaced a lot of the footage of why the movie was banned. So the much more graphic version that's never really been seen is being reissued as House on the Edge of Hell. Probably end of this year. Most likely it'll be out.
Okay, that's good. I haven't seen that one, so that'll be something to look out for.
If you consider Blood Theater, I mean, it's right up there with Blood Theater. Not my best work, but
I can't wait to see this release of Blood Theater when it comes out. I don't suppose you've had any, thoughts on making a sequel to it, have you?
God, when I first did Vice Academy, only because Blood Theater was so barely seen, I was really tempted to reshoot scenes with Linnea Quigley and change the title and make something out of Blood Theater at the time. I don't know. It's such a barely known movie. I've done so many sequels. I did 6 Vice Academies. They do make you slightly creatively bankrupt. So, I don't know any other ways people could die in a movie theater, but I think only because Blood Theater has been ripped off by other movies. There's Popcorn and there's Midnight Movie. There's a lot of movies about, people getting killed inside a movie theater, but I was first. It's an old concept by now. I mean, people would look at it and say, well, I've seen it 3 times already.
Yeah, as far as a sequel to Blood Theater goes, if you ever did make a sequel, Mary Warnow would have to be back for it.
I have something right now. I have my own version of Bloody Mary or Candyman, the same type of. I haven't done an urban legend movie yet, which I really want to. And no, Mary's pretty much going to play the evil woman who you can call her name and she'll come back. So yeah, I do plan to work with Mary one more time.
Oh, she'd be excellent in that role. Like I said, I loved her in Blood Theater. I love her in anything that she's done, but yeah, she was a lot of fun. I love her interactions with the guy that owns the theater. Like that whole banter together is really funny.
I wanted Dick Miller for that role so badly. Unlike the way Mary's agent calls her and asked if she wanted to do it, Dick Miller's agent just turned it down without ever asking him. I love the two of them together. They've done so many films. And I told Mary the first day of filming, and she goes, God, he should have asked me. He would have done it in a second. But again, I don't know if I could afford both of them. But yeah, I love the movie Hollywood Boulevard. It's one of my favorite films. And Murdoch, the guy who owns Spotlight Theaters, is heavily based on the Walter Paisley character that Dick Miller played in Hollywood Boulevard.
I've seen Hollywood Boulevard. It's been a while, but I've seen it. It's kind of got a slasher feel to it as well. I think there's also a killer stalking the people on the movie set in that film.
That's my all-time favorite movie. It's a film that inspired me to make movies. It had that much of an effect. That and it taught me how to use stock footage.
Oh, yeah, I guess that would come in handy, having stock footage.
I love
it. To pad out running time, if you need to.
No, it just saves me the trouble of blowing up buildings and crashing cars when you can buy them from other movies.
Oh, I forgot one of my favorite Spotlight Theater announcements that we were laughing about when me and my friend were watching it before was, Spotlight Theaters, where the popcorn is always popping.
That's actually from Hollywood Boulevard. I think they watch all these bad intermission trailers. The only running gag I ever did, I was always really aware of John Landis and that Coming Next Wednesday of where he would insert it in each movie as a running joke. So the on-screen popcorn commercial was my running joke. And in Visitants, the actors at the end of the movie do the exact same one. So come to the concession stand where the popcorn is always popping. Actually, in the original trailer, the 50s one that I mimic, and the soft drinks are always sparkling. It's the second half. I thought it sounded stupid. And Hobgoblins, by the time I did that movie, I had beaten that joke to death. I changed the words for the next time you see a movie, it's only rated PG. I want you to make it rated X. And after that, I couldn't come up with a better joke than that one. It was so obscene. So by Vice Academy, I retired the popcorn commercial. But yeah, that was actually my first running joke. I just love the whole idea that his ego, he would have his own popcorn commercial instead of just a generic one.
I love how cheap he is, too. He's like bootlegging the movies.
When I did that joke, that was so early on when piracy started, but that was pretty much the very beginning of, people aiming a camera at the screen and selling bootlegs, but that was the year it actually started. It was probably a little soon to parody it. I don't think most people got what that was when the movie came out. Yeah, I mean, both the multiplex theater and the pirating movies off the screen, those are kind of ahead of their time jokes.
Well, unfortunately, it looks like we've only got about 5 minutes left, but I have to say it's been awesome being able to talk to you about this movie because I knew nothing about it, so, just except what I saw on screen, so it's been nice to be able to learn more about it.
And once it's out with DVD commentary, it's like every sequel will be revealed.
What are you doing?
The same thing you would have been doing in a few minutes, Jennifer. You're a pretty cheap date. What would you be doing if Adrian had paid for that popcorn? Taking advantage of things that regular employees here don't even get. And I'll tell you what else is wrong.
How about sitting down?
Hey, how about shutting up?
And I'd like to again thank Rick for doing that interview. It was very informative, especially from a super fan like me of Movie House Massacre. So, I mean, are you guys ready for background information?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yes.
Okay, I don't have any, so you guys go ahead.
I think you pretty much covered everything in the interview.
I think so.
As well, yeah.
Yes. Well, the only thing I've got, well, just to say, because it was a little bit of a background. Some of you, if you've used to or have watched, or read even Hysteria Lives over the years, there's a lost interview on there, and the interview is with Joanna Morales, who played Selena in the film, and it was probably hands down the most entertaining interview I've ever had. it was probably the funniest interview ever. Now, for personal reasons, Joanna asked me to remove it. This is going back many years ago. Well, many years ago, about maybe 7 or 8 years ago. So I've no idea what she thinks about it now. Now, obviously, as you heard from the interview with Rick, Rick and Joanna don't exactly see eye to eye, although I think with that interview, Rick was holding, excuse me, a bit of knowledge branch out for Joanna. So if you are listening, Joanna, we are big fans. So obviously I'm not going to put the interview back up, but there's a couple of things that she said in it were quite funny. So I'm just going to read a couple of little bits out. Let's have a look. Let's see what we've got here. I said, did you have fun being Selena? And she said, I got some bad news. I've always been and still am a Selena. If you'd like to visit someone with a constant bad attitude, foul mouth and general sense of causing trouble, all in the sense of a good laugh, it's me. And she just says she just can't get it up to look at so slutty at her age or starve herself to a size 1. And I asked her whose idea those gold spandex pants were, and she said, those fucking gold spandex pants. I think that was my idea. Now, I bet you, if you go and ask Alice, fuck you, Rick, with all due respect, as you can see, no love lost there between the duo. She, or I mean he'll, would say it was her idea. I think my direct answer is, fuck if I remember. Possibly buying the spandex, my way of not having to wear polyester. It's only a theory. So she talks about. Goes in and talks a bit about John Waters and say it was meant to be so John Waters. We're supposed to be like Divine, Mink Stole, etc. So it was obviously that it wears its influences on its sleeve. I was trying to find some stuff that isn't libelous. Yeah,
it's difficult. I've read the full interview. I know that's difficult.
Let's see, what else have we got? Well, basically, as I said, I think Selena, Joanna, on the review I've got of Hysteria Lives, I used to have a picture of her with her boobs out, and she searched for herself, and she saw her boobs, and so she wrote to me. One of the things she did say, it was called the name that I think it was shot under was Revival House, which is the reason she said she hadn't seen it for years and years. I actually sent her a copy of the movie because she didn't have the movie. And when I actually sent it to her, what did she say? She said, this is a different film than the one she saw. I remember I was actually grabbing my boobs and shaking them at people in that one. Also, I think this has been redubbed, me sounding a little less satanic. That cheerleading scene is too funny. I do not recall doing that. I guess I did. Okay, I know I did. She says, also think that's me wearing my old Rocky Horror magenta wig as the hooker with a back turned to being handcuffed. The good old days. So there's a lot more to the interview, but I probably can't go into too much more. But yeah, well, hopefully, Rick will be able to get in contact and build some bridges with Joanna, because it'd be great if there was a special edition of Movie House Massacre with a Selena commentary, because I imagine that would be absolutely hilarious. So yes,
I can't believe that Selena wasn't fired for what she did in the cinema. I mean, Justin, you worked as an usher in a cinema in Brighton, was it?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
There's even a moment. There's even in the movie where they're like, "All right, you're now a full employee, even after what she's done."
Well, she got slapped, didn't she? And she could sue.
Did you ever whip your shirt off and throw popcorn over people? You probably were tempted to, but did you?
No, I didn't. But there were some things that used to go on, but not usually. In the ushers didn't really get up to much, apart from telling people going shh, lots. Have you seen? Just talking a bad movie etiquette in St Giles' Cinema in London, they've got movie ninjas. Have you seen that?
I saw that. Yeah, brilliant.
And so they've got these people dressed in black spandex head to toe, and if they're movie ninjas, they're like ushers. But if people are talking or checking their phone during a film, what they do is they creep up at them in the darkness, and tell them to be quiet and give them a shock and a fright.
Brilliant. We need ninjas in every movie theatre.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We went to see, just talking about, when we went to see The Possession the other day, it's a film I forgot to mention, that Sam Raimi Presents film, and it was there were some people just talking all the way through it, and it's just at the end we went out and my friend said, "So thanks for your running commentary all the way through," and they were going, "Oh, I didn't realise you could hear us," even though I turned around and went shh at them twice. So anyway,
what was the possession like? Because it hasn't opened over here in Ireland.
It's all right. Yeah, it's nothing worth writing home about. It's okay. There's a couple of really good scenes. It's not as good as Drag Me to Hell or anything like that. But it's not actually. I don't know what Sam Raimi. I don't know. Put his name to it, but that's about it really.
It's is it Ghost House Pictures? Is his company?
Ghost House Pictures. Yeah. It's worth a watch. I think it's not really worth. Well, it's not like it's a film that's probably played better on DVD, I would say, than at the cinema. But there's a couple of quite creepy scenes in it. But it's nothing special. So as far as other background information, I don't have anything else that's not already been covered. Really, I don't think. What about you, Joseph? You got anything?
No.
Nathan, have you seen any of Rick Sloane's other movies? Because I haven't seen Hobgoblins or anything.
I love Hobgoblins.
Yeah, I like Hobgoblins a lot. Yeah, it's cheesy fun.
It's a lot better.
I've seen his Vice Academy movies too.
I haven't seen any of those. They have. Is it Linnea Quigley is in them?
Yeah, she's in several of them. Yeah. Those are pretty entertaining too. And I like his movie Good Girls Don't. That's actually a really entertaining, cheesy comedy too.
Well, I mean, he did say in there, didn't he? He's working on a special edition of the film, isn't he?
I know. I'm very, very excited about that.
I thought you would be, yeah.
So, well, anything else left to say, Nathan? Do you want to wrap it up?
Movie House Massacre is probably the best movie we've covered on this podcast.
I'm not sure about that. do you know what I want to say agree. Is that did anyone else have a sort of question mark hovering above their head about the play that they're showing at the start of the film? It just seems to be a woman who's going woo, and a man waving a red cape at her. It's like, what's that play about?
I guess we'll never know.
We'll never know.
Was it supposed to be set in the 1920s, wasn't it?
I assume so, yeah.
It was almost as ridiculous as the opening play in Stage Fright. I mean, this woman gets attacked and then an owl jumps out of an alley. I mean, it looks like the worst play ever.
I would love to see that play. I think it'd be great.
Yeah, it'd be great for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I'd go see that play, but I'm washing my hair.
Which hair?
Downstairs.
On your face?
No, in apartment 212. It's below us.
Yeah, your face.
No, I'm talking physically. It would be downstairs.
Yeah, your face.
Right. Anyway, bringing it back to Movie House Massacre, and I don't know if there's anything else left to say on this.
Oh, there's one scene in it where Selena is on the phone to Mary Warrenoff's character, and she screams, and Mary Warrenoff's character phone turns into a meringue for some reason. It just sort of crumbles in her hand like a meringue.
He mentioned that in the interview.
Yeah, bizarre.
But
again, one of the things I love about the film is that it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't bother.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. They made it out of some kind of paste or whatever it was.
Yeah, it reminds me. You probably haven't seen this in the States, but Justin, are you a fan of Noel Fielding's luxury comedy?
I haven't seen it.
It's actually really, really good. There's a scene in it actually where he has a phone made out of cake, and it reminded me very much of that scene in Movie House Massacre.
Okay. Yeah, no, I've not seen any of those, but it kind of predates, I kind of guess, the not the similar scene, but the scene in Nightmare on Elm Street, doesn't it, when Nancy, where the tongue comes out of the phone?
Yes.
Although it doesn't make any sense really at all, does it?
No. What else I liked in the film was the fact that Darcy cleans the inside. This is the inside of the popcorn machine with Windolene.
Nice Windex flavor to the kernels.
Yes.
I utilize Windex in one of my recipes. It's an old family recipe for making pickles. It's cucumbers dipped in Windex.
Ew.
Hey? Well, really?
Well, considering who your family is, I wouldn't put it past you.
Excuse me, they're all actors, very distinguished.
Does Hazel eat these pickles?
No.
Is it the Wind?
No,
Is it for the Windex pickle massacre part of 1 and 2?
That should be my comeback film.
Yes. So, but if you're a new listener to the podcast, then Nathan is quite an esteemed director. Right up there with Rick Sloan.
Steam. There you go. Steam.
Yeah.
You have to admit, during those films, there are some scenes that are quite tense.
They are very tense.
Yeah.
Like having a wart removed.
What would you consider if you were looking at your oeuvre, as it were, of a overall? Which film would you say is the film that sums up what you do best?
I really like the doll one, Voodoo Massacre.
Okay.
With the killer doll killing off the family. I think that I put more effort into that one than to any of the others. I even had a car explosion in it.
Yeah, that's the one where you pan to the TV and show a car explosion. Isn't it?
Don't give away my secrets.
Wow, I was going to say, yeah. Well, no,
that's a big spoiler right there.
Yeah.
What's the latest status on the Joseph Nathan film that was in production?
All my money's gone into this new house. So.
Oh yes, yeah.
It'll happen. It'll happen.
As somebody who owns an apartment, I can understand the pain. They're money sapping, if nothing else.
I know.
I'll be buying a house soon, but it'll happen.
Wow. That's what you tune in to hear on Hysteria Continues. I won't talk about my real estate.
No.
Why not?
Why not? Well, we've only got 5 years left on our mortgage.
What?
Well, that's not bad.
That's not bad, is it?
Oh, I wish I was as old as you.
Ooh.
None of us are old as Toya, though, are we? But anyway, I think we're getting off.
Susie is a year older.
Oh yeah. Shut it. I think Selena said it best when she said,
"Sit on this, bitch."
Okay. Well, is there anything else we want to say about Movie House Massacre? Because I think this episode is turning into a kind of version of Movie House Massacre. I think.
Yeah.
Without the cool music.
So, Nathan, as this was your pick, do you want to wrap it up? Do you want to say? I mean, you've already wrapped it up once, haven't you? Is there anything else you want to say? I don't want to cut it short.
Okay, it's fantastic.
Okay,
and
you would recommend people hunting it out? We need to do some kind of scoring thing, almost, don't we? To sort of like a thumbs up, thumbs down, or thumbs in the middle, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
So
well, I think you know what my one will be for every episode.
But you've always
we can't use thumbs up because that's libel. That's trademarked.
Is it? It is, actually, yeah.
Yeah, he trademarked the thumbs up thing. Yeah. Roger Ebert did.
Did he?
Yeah. So we'd have to do like, I give it my highest recommendation. My lowest recommendation would be 7 thumbs up.
I would have thought Nero or one of the Roman emperors would have had something to say about that.
Caligula.
Oh. Yeah. He would, but he's been dead for like 10 million years.
That's true.
His only known relative that's still alive is Toya.
It's the Toya show, right?
I meant Susie. I'm sorry.
Yes, of course you meant Susie.
Yeah, from royalty. Mind you, Caligula would be quite a good. Well, actually, probably not a good person to have in your family tree. Maybe.
No.
No. Okay. Well, if you're still listening, and there's no guarantee that you are, but well, if you are, you're hearing this. But that was.
If you're not listening, let us know, and we'll
I'll tell you. If you're not listening now, you can write in and tell us. And here's how.
Our voicemail lines are open at 858-233-9281. You can contact us directly via email at the.hysteria.continues@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/the-hysteria-continues /hysteria-lives and /the-body-count-continues. We're also on Twitter. That's twitter.com/THC_podcast. You can visit Justin's website, The Hysteria Lives, at hysteria-lives.co.uk. My website, The Body Count Continues, at the-bodycount-continues.com, and Nathan's Blog Talk Radio Show at blogtalkradio.com/the-axe-to-grind-show. That is AXE, not AX. Finally, show your support of the show by purchasing a t-shirt at cafepress.com/the Hysteria Continues, and we thank you so much for listening.
And I just want to let everyone know that you can find Erik trolling the candy shops looking for Mars bars, deep fried Mars bars. Because I didn't put much contact info in for Erik because I figured we had enough. But just in case you want to know, he's the good ship lollipop.
I would deny it, but it's true.
But let's see. I guess we have some feedback. I'll let someone else go first. How about you, Nathan? Do you have anything?
Oh, yeah, you gave me some feedback. This is from Tosca, our favorite listeners.
I love Tosca.
He says, "Hey, Joseph, Justin, Erik, and Nathan. I'm just starting to get through your Prowler episode, but I've been on my holidays, so I'm a bit behind. So happy that you're covering the Prowler, which, as I've said before, is one of my faves. I have a bone to pick with Erik, or Mrs., who has led me into temptation. Following his mention of his new multi-region Blu-ray, I just had to invest in one myself. I'm very excited, but trying to show some self-control, or else I'll be bankrupt in weeks with all the films I want to purchase. So thank you, Erik, you temptress. You have led me astray. I am now going to have to spend a fortune."
That's not the first man I've led astray.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you, Tosca. Sorry.
I've just caught up with the Poughkeepsie tapes, which, despite the sometimes cheesy acting, I thought the story was quite chilling, and it did have some moments that were quite unnerving, particularly the killer crawling on the floor. Eek. An idea for a future discussion would be to see how you guys would reimagine some of the classics, such as Halloween or Friday the 13th. What would you do differently? Let's face it, you would do a much better job than Platinum Dunes or Rob Zombie. Anywho, I'm off to purchase some new Blu-rays, so you boys be good and enjoy the last bit of summer. And that's from our friend Tosca, and I hope you enjoy the last bit of your summer as well, Tosca.
Tosca Top Socks, yay!
Well, as someone who lives not that far from Tosca, well, a few hundred miles, we haven't had a summer. So
not really, no, we haven't, have we? But we do have region-free Blu-rays now, don't we?
We do, and you got yours considerably cheaper than I did, but still.
Well, I still don't know whether mine works. So
yes, I'm still waiting for my Halloween 2 and 3 DVD Blu-rays to arrive. They were posted, but they haven't arrived yet. So
the same here. Yeah, mine's out or on the way, but hopefully I'll have it this week. What?
Yours is out.
Ooh, I wouldn't put that in my mouth.
Put it back in.
Well, poor Tosca. Anyway, I mean, don't listen to Erik because he leads lots of people astray.
It's true.
Don't you? Yes.
Yeah.
Speaking of, how about you, Erik? What kind of feedback do you have this week?
I've got feedback from Declan Gallagher. It doesn't say where Declan is, but he sounds incredibly Irish by that name. He says, "Hey guys, this isn't at all slasher related, but I was moved after listening to the Cutting Class episode to write in. Justin, and in some part Erik, have expressed their dislike for the newer superhero movies, especially the Christopher Nolan Batman series, which Justin had a long rant about in the Pieces episode and just called Po-faced in the most recent. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but I have to say that I love the Christopher Nolan Batman series. I think that they're a bit too serious at times, yes, but why I love them is that Nolan takes time to flesh out his stories, perhaps to a fault since they're so dense, and he does spectacle like no one else. Like you guys, I long for the day of practical special effects, and in this day and age, when it's so hard to find a horror movie that doesn't CGI its blood, you've got Christopher Nolan, who for the last Batman film filmed a scene in midair with actual stuntmen parachuting from plane to plane. I'm not saying he's a perfect director. His movies are very long and sometimes pretentious, but he's one of the last directors who gives a damn about taking the audience for a ride. He understands that the thrill of real cars exploding is greater than the thrill of CGI explosions. He also gives some nice nods to horror films in his work, and he's a great director of suspense. Every time I see one of his movies, I feel like I did as a kid watching a big, epic action film. I know this is way off topic, but I just wanted to play devil's advocate, I suppose. I certainly don't enjoy all superhero movies. I thought the last Spider-Man was dreadful. And I'm not a complete fanboy. I just think Christopher Nolan is a genius. Keep up the great work. I'm so glad to see returns of top threes and also the Bollywood length. And that's from Declan Gallagher. Well, Declan, I'm probably the one most guilty of slamming modern superhero movies. The last one I saw, in fairness, was Iron Man, which I'm guessing was about 4 years ago now, so I haven't seen anything since then. To be honest, I just got bored with them, and this might sound hypocritical, but they just became too similar. It was just like watching the same movie over and over again, which I know is strange coming from a slasher movie fan, but because I was never a fan of the comic book series in the first place, going back to see more of the same just never appealed to me. Christopher Nolan is a terrific filmmaker. I loved Inception. I thought it was a terrific movie. I liked, I think it was The Prestige he did. I know there was 2 movies that were similar around the same time. I think it was The Prestige was his, wasn't it, lads?
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah, I enjoyed that as well. Batman movies, I wasn't just a big fan of it all. I saw Batman Begins and Dark Knight in the cinemas, and I was just a bit bored, to be honest. Superhero movies are just not for me. I mean, which is weird because growing up, one of my favorite films, and still one of my favorite films, was Richard Donner's Superman. I just think that the current crop of superhero movies are a bit, as Justin said, po-faced. I think they could do with a bit more humor injected into them, a bit more color and a bit more vibrancy.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, they're just not for me, basically. So,
well, I was going to play somewhat devil's advocate as well. To give the Christopher Nolan films their due, they are in tone. They are in tone with how Batman originally started in the Detective Comics when he first began. They were really dark and there was no humor, and it was just kind of like a really morbid serial. So, and then they kind of morphed into this whole wham, poof, zowie kind of campy thing. So Nolan is trying to, take it back to its original roots. But I think the problem with the Batman films is I think they're too long. They're really well made and they're pretty entertaining, but they just go on for like 30 to 45 minutes, way too long, in my opinion.
And that's what I find with most comic book movies is that they're sort of 2.5 hours. And
an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes would be perfect, to tell what they need to say. I mean, it's basically 2 guys in a mask fighting. I mean,
but again, Richard Donner's Superman, which is I would still hold as a great movie, is 2.5 hours as well. I don't know what it is. I mean, I love the TV version of Wonder Woman as well, but that's kind of got a kitsch appeal to it.
I like Superman 2.
Yes, so do I. And I like Superman 3 to a degree as well. Just the modern ones, I don't know. They're just not my cup of tea. I remember X-Men came out and that it probably kickstarted the whole cycle and everyone was raving about it, and I just thought it was a bit dull, to be honest.
I still think Unbreakable is the best superhero movie ever made.
Really?
Yeah, it's more of an origin story.
Yeah.
I love that film. I think it's
terrific. No, I can appreciate that they're well made, and if you like one, you're probably going to like them all. Of all those sort of Hulk, Iron Man, Thor, Captain America. But for me, I don't like them from the beginning. So because they're all kind of on the same lines, I'm not going to like any of them. So that's just me. Justin, you've been accused of hating them. So what's your response?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think I saw The Dark Knight, and no, I didn't see. Which was the one before The Dark Knight?
The Dark Knight was the second most recent. The Dark Knight Rises was the one that was just out this summer.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that one. I saw The Dark Knight at the cinema, and I thought it was they're good. I mean, things I find Christian Bale incredibly annoying, and I think I can appreciate that. The graphic novels and stuff are probably darker in tone, but it's a bit like with James Bond films. To be honest, Daniel Craig is so humourless. It's just kind of give me Roger Moore any day.
We are on exactly the same wavelength there, Justin, because I find the new Bonds a bit humourless as well. I long for the days of extreme gadgets and invisible cars and all that type of nonsense.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, and I think it's probably a different thing. But actually, just coming back to just quickly, because I just realised we didn't answer one of Tosca's points, was what would we do with instead of Platinum Dunes for like some of the classic remakes of films. And I thought it was interesting. I did read somewhere that somebody said that it seems that anyone under 25 not anyone, but a lot of people under 25 really love the Rob Zombie Halloween films, and anyone over the age of 25 hates them. Now, I think there's a huge generalisation, but there probably is something to be said for that, in so much that with the Friday the 13th and the Nightmare on Elm Street remakes, they're made. They're done. The people who make them aren't dummies. They're not. I don't think they're good movies by any stretch, but they're made with with a view of making a solid box office. And again, if you look at something like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3D, movie that's going to be coming out, then that again is obviously looks like it's along the same lines really as those kind of Platinum Dunes. Is it Platinum Dunes who are doing that one?
I'm not sure.
Oh. What movie is it again?
Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3D.
Oh no, I don't think it's Platinum Dunes this time around. They did the last couple, I believe. Or they did the second one, I know, but I think.
I still can't believe that they haven't done a sequel to Friday the 13th. It seems bizarre. But I mean, I think Nathan put it best in the past podcast. I mean, all you really want is a group of teenagers in a summer camp being murdered, and that's what we should take it back to. And I think that's partly, they talk about fumbling the ball with the Friday the 13th remake, but that's what we want. But is that what the kind of the audience, the studio, have got their eyes on the profit? Because at the end of the day, that's why movies are made, isn't it? To make money. No one's going to make money a niche project for just a few fans. So, but I don't know we'll ever get a decent, half decent Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th movie again. I don't know. Probably not. Sadly.
I just clarified that Lionsgate are the production company behind Texas Chainsaw 3D.
Okay. I mean,
the way you just said, I think it's sad to say, but I honestly, I could be wrong, and I hope to be proven wrong, but I think the days of Friday the 13th are pretty much over with. It seems like it, because that movie made a lot of money, but there's no sequel, there's no plans for one. I don't know. It's just, it seems like it's just died.
Well, it's kind of like, if you can get a sequel to Piranha 3D, which I saw Piranha 3DD on DVD or Blu-ray the other day, and we talked about that a lot. But if that can get a sequel, because I don't think Piranha 3D made a huge amount of money, did it?
Probably not as much as Friday the 13th, I'd say.
No, and you can make a Friday the 13th movie pretty cheaply, couldn't you? You just need a cast and woods. Really, you could easily make a very handsome looking film for a couple of $1 million. I would have thought. But
there was that rumor going around that they were going to do a found footage Friday the 13th film, but I don't know what happened to that rumor.
Well, and then there's a rumor that was going to be set in the winter or in the snow or something.
Yeah, in the snow.
Right. Yeah.
But I also heard that the Halloween 3D is dead in the water now as well. So we're obviously hitting a lull, aren't we, until the next big thing. But then horror movies still, like The Possessions, get up like $40-odd million, isn't it? And so those kind of films, and like you say, The Devil Inside, or whatever is it Devil Inside?
Devil Inside, yeah, made $100 million apparently.
Yeah, so
the good thing about slasher films in particular is that they never die. Someone comes out with something different. You had Scream, and then that kick-started, and then you had Saw, and that kick-started. So now I'm just waiting on someone to do something different that'll kick-start a whole new craze.
Yeah.
Well, Friday the 13th remake should have done that, but and it's such a simple formula to replicate, but they just completely messed it up.
Yeah.
Incidentally, just as an aside, I got sent a book to review by Stephen Graham called The Final Girl, or the Last Final Girl. I think that's what it was, which I'm reading at the moment, which is really good. It's kind of, if you can imagine, Scream, but on speed, and it's kind of set in a high school with a killer in a Michael Jackson mask, going around killing people and doing moonwalks and stuff, and it's kind of it's really good so far. I'm only a little of the way in, but that's worth looking at. I think that's going to be out.
Okay, so it's a novel, I assume, then, rather than a.
It is, yeah.
Yes,
but it's written in such a way that it's almost like a movie script. It sort of says, and then we pan across, and then we cut to the cafeteria or something like that, and it's kind of they're always talking about slasher movies, so it's very postmodern in the same way as kind of Scream, but goes way beyond that into almost quite kind of frenetic kind of pop culture talking, and it's quite exhausting almost to read it, but it's very engrossing as well. So it'd be interesting.
Sounds like Detention.
Yeah, I still haven't seen Detention. I know Patrick at Scream Queens watched it and said we were right, it was rubbish. But then again, it could be another one of those films that if you're under 25, you love, and if you're over 25, you don't. I don't know.
I really liked it, but I have the the looks of somebody that's under 25, so it's probably one.
That is true.
And the mentality.
Oh.
Well, I do have a youthful exuberance about me, I must admit.
You have a positive outlook on life, Nathan, don't you?
Very
you
positive,
like
yeah.
everything.
I do.
Yes.
Well, yeah, if you like Crazy Fat Ethel 2,
I do.
There's nothing you won't like in life.
No.
It's just that good. I can't say enough good things about it.
Unlike the rest of us. Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, what about you, Justin? You have any feedback this week?
I don't have any feedback this week, so I know.
Wow.
I know.
I didn't send you anything. I guess you feel left out.
I do. But I think that's spoken enough anyway. So have you got anything, Joseph?
I got one. It's from Jake McCoy. He says, "Hello, gang. It is Jake the Snake back for some more feedback. First of all, great last few shows as usual. The Prowler is definitely one of my favorite slasher films, and I do own the Blu-ray. It looks great. And can't wait to hear the episode on Cutting Class, which we did a few weeks ago. It's a good guilty pleasure kind of movie, and in my opinion, Roddy McDowall owns in this one. I did want to say something. I loved hearing about A Night to Dismember, and especially loved the clip of Doris Wishman's commentary where she bickers a bit with the other guy. It reminded me of the movie I've watched before called Jacko. It's a fun, low-budget semi-slasher about a jack-o'-lantern-headed monster who wreaks havoc on Halloween night. The Halloween angle is what makes me enjoy this movie, as I like just about anything to do with that holiday. Plus, Linnea Quigley is in it as well, and shocker, she gets nude. The reason I bring that up is because the commentary track for it is funny as hell. Like the Night to Dismember one, the director who acts like he made Citizen Kane or something is fighting a bit with his producer who jokes about how corny and awful the movie is. And if I may paraphrase, I think he calls it a shit pickle. Is that right, Nathan?
He reminds him of a review where it's called a shit pickle.
Yeah, okay. And then he says, making the director storm out at one point, but coming back to finish the commentary and say, fuck you to the producer. I'd recommend checking it out, and since it's a kind of a slasher, maybe an episode possibly, most likely would be a Nathan pick. No offense meant, Nathan. I too have some questionable tastes in movies. Speaking of Halloween, it gave me a good idea for a possible top 3, and I checked past episodes to make sure you didn't do it already, but excuse me if you have. How about top 3 movies you like to watch during the Halloween season? Excluding the obvious choices, of course. Yeah, we know Carpenter's movie is going to be on everyone's list. And then he finally says, Nathan, something I wanted to bring to your attention. Apparently one of your favorites, Criminally Insane, is being remade, called Crazy Fat Ethel this time. They'll just remake anything now, won't they? I may check it out, as according to the IMDb page, it's supposed to have Felissa Rose, Linnea Quigley, and my number one horror crush, Catherine Isabel. Sorry for the long email, boys. Until next time, keep flushing the toilet, cat. That's from Jake McCoy.
Well, thank you, Jake. Well, that's interesting.
Jake, yeah.
Crazy Fat Ethel. Who's going to play?
That's a good idea for a top 3, I think. The what movies we would like to watch during the Halloween season.
Yeah.
Well, you guys in the States can watch Halloween because it's been reissued all across the States. This month. Yeah.
Is it
going to see that on the big screen,
including Chattanooga?
The UK.
Yes, Chattanooga.
We're not getting it, Erik.
Sorry?
We're not going to get it.
No, we're not going to get it at all. Do you know what we can get in Ireland is on Halloween night, Lighthouse Cinema in Dublin, which is one of the finest cinemas I've ever been in, are showing The Shining. Okay. And of course we have the Dublin Horror-thon to look forward to. No details on that yet, but I know 1 or 2 courtesy of our friend Nigel. So I have to keep my lips sealed on that, I'm afraid so.
See, here's the thing. Chattanooga rarely ever gets good movies, like revivals. I mean, the closest thing we ever had, we had the 8 Films to Die For a few years ago. And so we never really have like big, I mean, you have to drive to like Atlanta or Knoxville, which is like 100 miles away.
Is it not a big city? No.
No, it's a big city. It's just for some reason there's never really any kind of revival things here.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you have to drive like 100 miles away. So now that it's going to be here.
Well, you were saying sort of before we started recording that is there 5 theaters going to be showing Halloween?
Yeah, apparently it's at 5 different theaters here in town going to be showing it.
Excellent. Because that'll mean I'm the only one who hasn't seen Halloween on the big screen. Because I know you have, Justin, haven't you?
No, I haven't.
Oh, have you not? Oh, I thought you did. Sorry.
Really?
No, I'm not that old.
No, but I thought you might have seen it in a revival.
No. Friday 13th I've seen.
Yeah, so have I. I've seen that on the big screen. Yeah.
So, but interesting. So you can't tell us what's going to be at the Dublin. Do you find it difficult to keep your lips sealed around Nigel?
No, not really.
Okay.
In answer to his question, I did know that they were remaking Criminally Insane. I'm cautiously optimistic, but I don't know. I don't think they're going to be able to recreate that, the atmosphere of the original Criminally Insane. I don't think that can be recreated.
Well, surely it
and
can
nobody's going to be better than Scylla.
Surely it can with a camcorder and a couple of video cassettes.
Yeah, and me with a wig, I could play Crazy Fat Ethel.
Y'all are thinking.
That reminds me.
You could all disagree.
Crazy Fat Erik.
Yeah, I'm setting you up to disagree. Saying no, Erik, you're really thin and sexy.
That reminds me, Erik. Do you have? He said Justin asked you if you have a problem keeping your lips sealed. Do you have chocolate on your lips?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay, that was my double entendre for the.
But I did earlier.
I don't get it though.
Neither do
chocolate lips.
No, I don't get it. Sorry.
It's a poo joke.
Yes, I get it. I'm being silly. No, I have not rimmed anyone in the last 24 hours.
Oh,
well, I didn't need to know that.
Yeah, you did want to know if you'd been licking any chunky Kit Kats. What?
Oh. Well, this show just went off the rails.
Exactly. Have we got any more feedback? We're probably never going to get any more again.
That's it, from my end, at least.
Ooh.
We haven't had a matron.
No, we haven't had a matron. Well, shall I choose one at random? Which one shall we...
Matron, take them away!
That's a new one. I haven't heard that one.
No, neither have I.
Oh, haven't you?
No.
Maybe that's the one. I think I've had it there for ages, and maybe I've just forgotten to play it. That one's from Carry On Camping, when Barbara Windsor's bra pings
which
off.
is a DVD I've recently picked up as well.
Yeah, here it goes again.
Matron, take them away!
So, talking of taking them away, have we got anything else left to say? I think it's all a bit slightly delirious, and it's one of those podcasts where everything's gone a little bit. But then it's quite.
Can I just say that if we're off feedback now, that if again, I hate to be a spokesperson for the Misty Moon Gallery in London, but if you are in the area, Mark Patton, who played I can't remember the character's name, Jesse, of course, in Nightmare on Elm Street 2, is going to be appearing there on the 6th, I think, of October. They're going to be showing Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 on the screen there. He's going to be displaying some of his art, and there's going to be a Q&A with him. You'll get to meet him. Tickets are limited to 50 people because it's quite a small space. So if you're interested in that, go to the mistymoon.net and you can get more information. I would love to go because I think Freddy's Revenge is one of my favorite films.
I've met him twice. He's a really nice guy.
Is he nice? Yeah. He comes across as very nice on Facebook. So, yeah. So, people in London, in the London area, get along there 6th of October, which is just 2 weeks away, I think. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. And who else is going to be there? Isn't Adrian King going to be there as well?
Adrian King is coming back. I'm not sure on the date, but they have a short movie competition going on there, and Adrian King is one of the judges, so she's going to be there. There's also going to be somebody from Carry On as well there. Anita Harris, is that her name?
No, Fenella Fielding.
Fenella Fielding has been there. Okay. But I think Anita Harris is coming up there, who was in the Carry On movies. She is going to be there, if you just bear with me, on the 20th of October, if you're a Carry On fan, as Justin is, obviously. Yeah.
Am I? Okay, yes, I am. Right. Well, okay, well, I think in time and tradition, just tell you it's my choice next time. And it's going to be It's going to be another Giallo double bill.
Yay!
We're going to go for Fatal Frames.
Love
and Slaughter Hotel.
Ooh, interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that should be quite an interesting one to do. And lots of bad music and lots of rather, well, how can I put it?
What?
politely?
Are you going to play some Susie and the Banshees?
Oh, and on that bombshell, I think. So.
Maybe we should play out with an even worse song from Toya.
Sit on this, bitch!
Yeah.
Right, well, we're going to play out, anyway, with some music from the film. What is it? Is it the
I don't
closing?
know. It's just the end-credit music.
Okay. So basically...
It's a ZX Spectrum game again.
It's a chimp banging
Probably Jet Set Willy.
Yes. Indeed. So, well, thank you for listening. And thank you for Nathan for picking this film. And thank you to Rick Sloan, if you're still listening. And thank you for anyone who's managed to make it all the way through this. And, yeah, well, hopefully we'll see you next time for some Italian madness. So, thank you and take care.
Bye.
Bye.